granted his violent wife a degree in hospitality.
The same violent wife who bears up employees in the workplace. She's worse than Grace, yet they copy everything. Kuma kuma kunaya, kuma kuma kunaya, kuma kuma kunaya, kuma kuma kunaya. Geza, Geza, Zimbabwans. Geza, Geza, Zimbabwans. Nanang was granted his violent wife a degree in hospitality. The same violent wife who bears up employees in the workplace. She's worse than Grace, yet they copy everything. Kuma kuma kunaya, kuma kuma kunaya, kuma kuma kunaya. Geza, Geza, Zimbabwans. Geza, Zimbabwans. Nangag was granted his violent wife a degree in hospitality. The same violent wife who bears up employees in the workplace. She's worse than Grace, yet they copy everything. Kuma kuma kunaya, kuma kuma kunaya, kuma kuma kunaya. Geza, Geza, Zimbabwans. Geza, Geza, Zimbabwans.
Nanang was granted his violent wife a degree in hospitality.
The same violent wife who bears up employees in the workplace. She's worse than Grace, yet they copy everything. Kuma kuma kunaya, kuma kuma kunaya, kuma kuma kunaya, kuma kuma kunaya. Geza,
That's a very good evening to you, brothers and sisters. Live. This is newsnetworkzimai.com. Coming in right now. Press the straight button. About to start right now, straight away. So in about a minute ago, from now, we are going to be switching straight to hear and watch Comrade Blessed Geza, the leading war veteran who is an anti-corruption activist who recently came up to speak against things that he felt need to be corrected in the country. And so he's earned the name Bombshell, a name that he got from the liberation struggle time. And he also has, so this is a title that he obtained from the time of the liberation struggle in the 1970s when he got trained, and a few war veterans have hailed him as truly a senior in the struggle. And one of these is the spokesman of ZANU-PF himself, Christopher Mchango, has hailed him as a trained military intelligence trained field officer with mostly accurate intelligence. I don't know if I quoted him right there. I'm just going to ask my co-host tonight, Hulu Pachiso Life. Good evening, Hulu.
Good evening, Zimai, and good evening to everybody that has just joined us.
I'm going to ask you to increase your volume. Somehow you're really low.
Simba?
Yeah, it's getting better now. It's getting better. Thank you.
Okay, let me, you
can
hear me now, right?
So, yes, we can hear you. So we're left with 40 seconds for Comrade Geza to start. So just shoot. Can you please just correct me where, if I'm wrong, when I cited Chris Muchangwa there?
Yeah, you see, let me just say welcome again, fellow Zimbabwans, fellow Africans, and people of the world that have just joined this space, Zimai. And thank you for joining Zimai and joining me, Hulu at Fictitious Live, as we give you the breaking news from war veteran, Blessed Geza, Comrade Bombshell. You are very right. Zimai.
Oh my word! He's about to start. He's literally starting right now. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Apologies, Hulu.
That's fine.
Here we go.
Good evening, fellow Zimbabwe. This is yours truly, Blessed Geza, Comrade Bombshell. Today I come to you at a time when our country remains at crossroads. With our efforts to deal with Emerson Mnangagwa and his Ugandas. On 24th of April 2025, Mutapa Investment Fund attempted to deny the 1.9 billion US dollars grant safety from the government. You also their statement last week in the press. In some way, they unconsciously admitted to the grant safety from the Zimbabwe Treasury using treasury bills as we told you, but Mnangagwa is protecting them. Instead of being brought to book, they are now enjoying VVIP security treatment from the state at the taxpayers' expense. They also take advantage that their mafia boss, Mnangagwa, is suffering from vascular dementia and losing control of both his mind and government. They are now stealing everything without shame. As they steal, the health sector is bleeding and people are dying. Government workers remain underpaid. The education sector has been neglected. Our roads have become death traps. I could say more. The country is suffering from acute neglect. So, as I promised you, fellow Zimbabweans, a new leadership is coming and coming soon. A leadership that will put an end to all the corrupt activities. A leadership that will respect the Constitution. A leadership that will respect human rights. And a leadership that will ensure equitable and transparent distribution of national resources. The new government will not continue with Joe Ubanzu, Kujakwe Mumi. Zimbabweans have been saddled with billions of dollars in debt due to the criminal activities by these Uganandans, especially Tagwirei. The new government will recover all the money stolen by these Uganandans and reduce the national debt. Tagwirei should explain how he got the 35% shareholding in Kuimba, which he later used to steal the 1.9 billion US dollars. He should explain how he acquired the shareholding in a company that they created from stolen assets. Why should the government of Zimbabwe be used to pay these assets that were stolen from the same government in the first place? GDI was stolen from the army, Sandawana from ZFDC, and a handful of gold mines were also stolen again from a United Kingdom company that was in liquidation. Sandawana belonged to the government. How did he end up in Tagwirei's hands? We know he used his CBZ capital to give a fictitious valuation of stolen assets and then sold the company for 5.4 billion to the same government he stole the companies from. We want back the 50% shareholding in GDI, which was stolen from the Zimbabwe Defense Forces. Tagwirei and your enablers, Mutuli Muwe, George Guamatanga, you don't have share. Please return immediately 1.9 billion in treasury bills to Ministry of Finance. All the interest Tagwirei is getting from the Ministry of Finance, only 1.9 billion treasury bills. 50% of GDI to the Zimbabwe Defense Forces and 100% of Sandawana to ZMDC, Government of Zimbabwe. I would like to thank you, fellow Zimbabweans. I know you are desperate for quick action to remove Emmerson Mnangagwa. Let me assure you, as long as I keep coming to talk to you, it means action is being taken and taken soon. We are simply taking precautions to ensure that there won't be loss of blood during the transition. You have to be patient. You will see the results soon. Our progressive security forces are on the ground as we speak. And time for Mnangagwa to go is fast approaching. Our shutdown continues, and it will not stop until we are done with Mnangagwa and his Uganandans. Muri Zimbabwe, ndinonzwa misodzi yangu ichida kuchururuka, ndonzwa ichida kutsemuka nehasha. Kana tiongorora mabirwo andauda kuzokurondedzerai ari kuitwa ufumi hwenyu, including also hwearmy naTagwirei. Right. Vanhu vakawanda munofunga kuti Tagwirei uyu munhu ane mari inoshamisira. Taakubudisa pachena mawaniro aakaita mari yacho, nzira dzeuori dzaaishandisa. Chekutanga akanga ane kaservice station kake kainzi Sakunda. Ndokuti kaservice station kako akatokaba futi. Handifungi kuti kakauya mune zvakanaka kaservice station kako. Tava mukaservice station takazonzwa command agriculture yakufanirwa naTagwirei. Ndikati Tagwirei anowana kupi mari yose yokufanira nyika yose necommand agriculture. Uori hwatodopa hwatotangisa kuwedzera network yeuori ipapa. Takazozviona kuti pava paya yanga isiri mari yake, imari yaipiwa nehurumende ende asikadzoseri mari iyoyo. Right? Haana kugumira ipapo munhu anonzi Tagwirei. Right? Akaenderera mberi nokudoba makambani ehurumende, makambani earmy kana kuti edefense forces, makambani amwe emaBritish akanga ari under liquidation. But nokuda kwokuti network yake yaifurangwa naye Tagwirei, but boss wacho ari Emerson. The network yacho was well oiled. Zvekuti hapana munhu akambofungira kuti zvinhu zvichabuda. Saka Tagwirei uyu panyaya yecommand agriculture akaita chikwereti chehurumende chaisvika over 900 million US. 900 million US, hapana kana security, hapana kana chii. Unoshaya kuti munhu uyu aipuwa mari iyo chikwereti chakawanda kudaro. Right? Zvichifamba sei banda kusalamurai kuti right munhu anga ari behind madhiri ese apo Emerson. Right? Ndakusalamurai zvakare kuti pane makambani akaba. Makambani akaba kugovernment nekuarmy ndaaya. Kuarmy, right, akaba inonzi GDI. Right? Our makambani eGDI maplatinum reserves akawanda ari alomendaipi. Namwe hatichavasi kutaura makambani. Endi chinotishamisa ndechekuti opa muchinguri, right, nana nepera, right, vanova ndivo vanotungamira Ministry of Defense, Minister in PEMSEC, vari kuramba vakanyarara. Hatisi kuziva kuti ndo vakabasira kuti kufacilitata nobva wapochoko muhumwe, because vari kuramba vakanyarara. But makambani edefense akabiwa, masoja achishupika. Right? Amwe makambani akabiwa ndeeZMTC, vana Zimbabwans, hapana chakabhadharwa. Right? Vana Sandawana yemaemeralds ekumberekwa. Maimbonza zvinzi Tagwirei aumuri Sandawana hakuna chakabhadharwa ikoko. right. Ndo pakabva kambani yake youtsotsi hwouri, right. Saka Tagwirei akazonzi neveministry of finance, shamwari, chikwereti chako chai chichagarisa, but maonero angu ndeyekutoti panga pane urongwa apa. Tagwirei akati okay, ini chikwereti ichi ndakuchiofseta, ndakutengeserai mashares emukambani yangu emukuvimba, right, kuti ndiite offset chikwereti changu, right. Saka akaofseta chikwereti chiya, kuimba yacho yasakana kubvisira kuti yanga atova valued at 1.5 billion. Saka in other words, government yangozvibhadhara yoga, uyo hapana kana sendi kana chipeneti chakabva kunobhadhara chikwereti, achitosara aine imwe mari. Hazvina kuperera ipapo, akazoti after a year, because iye anga asara ne35% mukuvimba iya. Saka after a year, nobva adzokera futi kugovernment, zvikanzi ndauda kutengeserai kuimba yose. Apa angaudza kambani yake inonzi CBZ Capital kuzoita reevaluate company yekuvimba. Saka within a year, that company yanga iri worth 1.5 billion yakaitwa valuated at 5.4 billion US. Zvikanzi ndakutengeserai, ndo pakazo foma kabhuka kaya kanonzi Mutapa. Izvi vaizviita vari vese naED, right. Saka pakutengesa mashares ake ese mukuvimba, akabuda ava ne 1.9 billion US yeuori. Saka mune Zimbabwe tinosvika kupi zveshwa tataura nenyaya yehuori, tikataura nenyaya yehuori tikatara kuratidzana uori, maipiro awakaita munyika yedu, vandinodawo kuti vanhu ava vanenge vachiprotectwa naED, right. Uyu munhu anonzi Tagwirei, ugororo hwake akabva nahwo kure. Iye zvino muchechi chaipo chaipo, muchechi mungaona munhu anoda kubira vanhu chechi yavo, muchechi yeSavana hamuna chakanaka, ari kuda kuba chechi iyoyo achishandisa mari yehuori kutengera vanhu dzimotikari, kutengera mapastors dzimotikari and so on, right. Then toenda kuti hospital chaichi chinonzi arunge chavati ndorapa vanhu mahara, ndorapa vanhu mahara, hachizi chake, ndichemukomana anonzi Kereke. Iye mazvekereke wacho vakamufrema, right, vakamusungisa. Kereke ari mujere as we speak. Hospital yake vakatora zvechitsotsi, haana kugumira ipapo. Iye manje avamusendero komiti yeZANU-PF apinda futi through the back door and asida kugumira ipapo ari kuda kutoita president wenyika through the back door, right? This is totally bullshit. It's unacceptable. We will not accept this to happen. Saka mukuona nokudaro chitarisai muone maeffects eupa hwawo matambudziko aunzwa munyika medu. Iye zvino macivil servants edu they are getting peanuts havasi kuona pari zvino as we speak. Zveshuwa maprofesa malecturers ekumauniversity edu kana mainstitutions edu of higher learning vari pastrike. Mukaona zveshuwa lecturer and professor akupinda muroad anenge ambototraya nzira dzakasiyana siyana but voona kuti hazvishandi and the best thing kutomboratidzira and maziro andiri kuita ndeyekuti even mastudents ajoina varairidzi vavo kuti ayo hondo iyi ndeyedu tese because kana yomusingafari it means the quality of education yamuchatipa inenge yachipa. Saka isu hamungapiwi kuti mamuchipuwa kuma 2000 manje makupuwa 200. You know, it's a mockery. It's a mockery. Chimunhu chisina kana grade 7 chinonzi chivhayo chichipuwa ma540 million, right? Engofamba padhuze namunangagwa. Zvinoreva chii izvozvo? Zvinoreva chii? Iye manje madoctors, right? Masoja, mapurisa, maticha, ndingangoti civil service sector yese iri affected. Ndingangoti nyika yese iri affected. Asi chinondishamisa ndichoti makangonyarara. Murikutirwa naye maprofesa, right? Ere zvichizi majoinana namaprofesa nemalecturer mose patekeshedzera pashutdown murega kuchiidzirwa because memuchipaitira your own rights, marights enyu. Saka kana muchishikidzirwa muchaja kuchikidzirwa ireko. Saka ndiri kuti mhuri yeZimbabwe batanai, endai pashutdown, right? Vana Mnangagwa vaende, hurumende nyuwani ipinde ikuitirei zvakanaka. Tinoti kumalecturers nemaprofesa pamberi nemwi tinokutsigirai, tinemwi pahondo yamuri kurwisa yokuti mwanewo masalaries nema-conditions of service akanaka anoenderanawo nedzidzo yenyu. Kuruzhinji rweZimbabwe ndinoziva kuti manolokerwa, but please bear with me. Pane zviri kuitika. Mukaona nchirama nichiuya pamberi penyu so munokwanisa kufunga kuti pane zviri kuitika. Ndotokutaurirai pane zviri kuitika and zviri kuitika very soon. Ngatirambei takabatana tobvisa ED nezvigananda zvake, right? Totanga kuvaka nyika yedu sevana veZimbabwe takabatana. Ndatenda mhuri yeZimbabwe. May God bless you. May God bless Zimbabwe.
Alright, we'll have to fight. We gon' fight. We gonna fight. We gon' fight. We'll have to fight.
Gonna fight. Fighting for our rights. Africans gonna liberate
Zimbabwe, I and I liberate Zimbabwe.
Every man has the right to decide his own destiny.
All right, Martin.
And his judgment will find no partiality.
All
Good
right.
brothers.
That's fine. Okay, Martin, you can just mute your mic. Ladies and gentlemen, you have had the submission from Wolf. Fictitious live. Of course, about our people. It is about our country. Zima, your mic is on. Yeah, it's about it is about that, and this is yet another opportunity that we have to listen to one of those that fought in the liberation struggle to bring about 1980, to bring about a country that was supposed to be free, independent, and prosperous. Comrade Blessed Geza speaking to the nation today, and of course appealing for unity. Comrade Geza is appealing for unity of all Zimbabweans, and continues to promise that he has got an objective of replacing the current government led by President Edi Mnangagwa. Remember, President Mnangagwa came to power in 2023, after the 2023 election, but he started his reign from 2017 after President Robert Mugabe, who had been in power for so many years since 1980, was removed through the intervention of the army. And here we are, 2025, and it appears that the words of Comrade Bombshell, that is war veteran Blessed Geza, they seem to be resonating with quite a number of Zimbabweans who are suffering under the weight of hospitals that are not functioning, under the weight of roads that are still in dilapidated conditions, and many other infrastructure issues in our country, including emphasizing corruption. There is rampant corruption in Zimbabwe. He spoke about, Gray, and explained how Gray and according to him, can reach the government helping him. Kudakwashi Tagore and explained how Kudakwashi Tagore became rich. And according to him, Kudakwashi Tagore became rich only through the government helping him and working with President Edi Mnangagwa. And that is how Kudakwashi Tagore ended up making money, by buying a company with money that he got from the government and ending up selling the same company for over 80% of the value that he bought it at before to the same government. And this involved billions of US dollars. So, of course, his mathematics, I'm not very sure about his mathematics, because he spoke about 1.9 billion and then spoke about the valuation of the company at the beginning at 1.5 billion. And then, that will give us obviously 3.4 billion. But he said that the same company was valuated at above 5 billion. And therefore, Kudakwashi Tagore became a billionaire within a year by selling the same company back, to the government. So, what is your take, ladies and gentlemen, after listening to the submission of Comrade Blessed Geza? Once more, let me say thank you very much for always joining ZimI News and following the developing stories across the four corners of our country, Zimbabwe. So we have got already speakers requesting to make their submissions. and we are going to be able to do so. So, yeah, Siba, thank you very much. We are going to go right to the speakers, but just briefly, host, what is your sense in terms of the agency of the words of Comrade Blessed Guess? He says there are things that are happening. Be patient. There are progressive forces within the armed forces who are making sure that things are happening. What is your take in terms of the agency of of his words? I mean, Simba's cancer. Just
Okay, thank you
briefly.
very much. Yeah. Myself, today, I think for the first time, what what people could hear is not just Blessed Geza's spirit. Today, people could hear detail, people could hear numbers. And I know a lot of people could not easily follow the numbers. There are many numbers here that he was throwing. He throws that number, and the like, and the like. And then, and it's not easy to understand all these numbers because our brain uh, over the time, because of artificial intelligence. I mean, we started with the calculator and the like. So the human brain it tends to get very tired. I noticed that, even during the time of the gold mafia, Hulu, when all those numbers came up, a lot of people did most people did not get the numbers. What they followed on the documentary was just excitement around Hubert Angel, for instance, and Auxilia Mnangagwa being exposed. But that was a documentary that had a lot of numbers. It actually showed how money is being looted, like literally from Emerson Mnangagwa, even himself, the president, while he's watching. There was one transaction that involved more than 1 million that Kamlesh Patni, when he got to the airport, he only came back with just a 90 something thousand. Those were numbers. And what my team back then in Al Jazeera did, what we did was to bring a documentary where you could actually follow transaction through to where the money is. But people did not follow those things. People, even right now, a lot of people, as we speak right now, Hulu, for you to understand the attitude tonight while people are listening to Blessed Geza, Zimbabweans will not follow those numbers. Zimbabweans will follow something else. They'll follow the emotion, they'll follow the anger or the excitement. So when that documentary was released, a lot of people, up to now, 2 years later, think that the documentary died out, that nothing happened. Why? Because people did not follow numbers. It's a sad thing that we are like Zimbabweans. I don't know if it's phenomenon is greater, it goes beyond Zimbabweans. But today, Hulu, Blessed Geza revealed numbers. It's important for people to understand what Blessed Geza announced today as he spoke spirit, like spirit to spirit, was Tagire started with nothing. Like Tagire, the only thing that he owns, that he's got to his name right now, is just a petrol garage, one single petrol garage called Sakunda, which we are not even sure if he owns. So I mean, I think that is, everything else that Tagire owns right now is just one cover up deal upon another, appearing as if he is buying another company. But what he is simply doing is just changing names while abusing state resources and accumulating wealth, all from public money. That is the total summary of what Blessed Geza. But I also want to say that, Hulu, today, for the first time, what Zimbabweans could hear from Blessed Geza is something which Geza should have been saying before that March 31 date. I always criticized the March 31 strategy. I mean, I did it privately, by the way. I didn't do it in public. And because I saw it as something as that is just like what Tsenengamu did 4 years ago with his 31 July demo that was crushed before anyone even thought about it. So my point that I'm trying to make here, Hulu, is that um, uh, Blessed Geza tonight, he is coming with, I think, in my view, the right attitude that he should have always had. You don't give notice to a criminal. I mean, who does that? Imagine if CID Law and Order were to announce, "Oh, Mister Hulu, you lost your car. Your twin cab was stolen by Mister Jackson, who lives at number 10 Mashingo Road. We're going to announce it on radio. We're going to announce his name, and we're also going to announce to him that tomorrow, at 8:30 p.m., we are going to arrive at his address, and then seize that car and arrest him. I mean, that was a dodgy procedure there. Mnangagwa should never have been given notice. That's my view, and I think that is what he's doing now. And I think, if I'm allowed to throw an opinion, I think if there's any time that Zimbabweans need to come together, and if Blessed Geza continues in this type of professional procedure, then this is it. This is it, because this is the kind of strategy that is needed. If you are dealing with a matter relating to law and order, operate at least like a police officer or even a civilian
Yeah.
officer, someone who wants to truly restore rule of law or wants to arrest a suspect. And that is the attitude.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is my take tonight. Welcome, Comfort Dondo, our human rights director, who's just joined in tonight. We missed her for some weeks, but she's back here. Good evening, Comfort.
Yeah, thank you very much. Zimai, and welcome, of course, indeed, to Sister Comfort Donder. And we will be having a very valuable discussion, ladies and gentlemen, to what has happened at the developing story of Comrade Geza. So, for our speakers, something to ponder about. So, it is clear what Comrade Geza has been saying, has been emphasizing, especially on one individual today, that is Kudakwa Chitagwire. So his submission, Comrade Geza, today has been a bit much lengthier than before. He emphasized the fact that Kudakwa Chitagwire bought shares in Kuvimba. And the Kuvimba, by the time Kudakwa Chitagwire bought those shares, was worth 1.5 billion. And to now, as we speak, there was a valuation of Kuvimba. That valuation has come up at 4.5 billion. So now Mutapa Investment is now making an acquisition of Kuvimba, at a value of 1.9 billion US dollars. And that's the money that Comrade Blessed Geza is talking about, to say that now you have this individual, Kudakwa Chitagwire, within a year, already benefiting from billions of income. Because look, worth 1.5 billion at the time of acquisition, according to Comrade Geza. And now, if you can check the valuation that was done in 2024, the company was valued at 4.5 billion. So that is close to the 5 billion that Comrade Geza spoke about now in 2025. So if you can just do the maths there, you can just see that the company would have grown by 3.5 billion within a period of a year, according to him. And that raises eyebrows, and that empowers Tagwire so much that, according to Comrade Geza, he even wants to become the president using this massive amount of cash that is going to be a windfall for Kudakwa Chitagwire. So let us quickly move now with the speakers. And Sister Comfort Dondo, as you're sitting there, we are now talking about the richest Africans. If you know them in terms of how much they are worth, and not even Strive Masiwa is worth that much now. So Kudakwa Chitagwire is catapulted into the richest man in Zimbabwe overnight. What is your take? Sister Comfort Dondo, from where you are sitting, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Nkoma Hulu. I don't know if you can hear me. Am I clear?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Awesome. Yeah, it's good. It's good to be back. Simba. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I want to start by saying, Simba, your question around Zimbabweans and why we are not able to focus on the numbers. Komahula, I don't know how we are able to focus on the numbers. I think I understand why we're not able to focus on the numbers. I know that Zimbabweans are tired over 4 decades of abuse. I also know that Zimbabweans as a nation, we are under what I call our limbic brain. We are in our limbic brain. So the limbic brain says there's a lion on your lap. When you've been subjected to this level of abuse, where systemically things are taken away from you, so you become a nation of beggars. So you have massive lack. The reason why even you see young people like to praise Mbinga, because we are not in our frontal brain. And I'm not saying this disrespectfully. I'm saying this. We are in our limbic brain, and our limbic brain says either you fight or you flight, you fight or you flee or you freeze. I think a lot of my brothers and sisters, Zimbabweans, from wherever we are, whether we're in the diaspora, whether we are home, our brain is either in fight or flight or freeze. So to fathom even wrapping our minds around or sitting with a documentary like Gold Mafia and even analyze it or just kind of capture the numbers. That's why you saw with the Gold Mafia, it seemed like it was just something that went with the wind. I don't think it's because Zimbabweans don't care, as a lot of people have said. But for me personally, I believe strongly that this regime has put us systemically in the place where we are no longer able to be people who can use our frontal lobe. Because I call it politics of the stomach, where the few amass massive wealth. And politics of the stomach makes the masses hungry and desperate so that they lose the willpower to even fight. So they lose the willpower to unite and to do and follow instructions as the comrade bombshells instructions. I don't believe it's a coincidence that we have a lot of our young people on drugs. Someone is massively putting those drugs in those locations so that our young men who are supposed to be enraged if they were sober are not enraged, but so Koma Hulu, Koma Simba, and all the speakers and all listeners, from how I observe the situation in Zimbabwe, I'm reminded a lot about countries like North Korea, where the poor, the masses, are actually denied access to basic commodities, and it's done in a very, very pervasive way. So by the time you realize it, you don't even realize that you are nationally, as a country, you are in survival mode. In ending, I'll say to this submission, this does not exclude, I want to be very clear, it does not exclude Zimbabweans who are also in the diaspora. Because I also want to tell you the phenomenon that happens when we have been removed away from our motherland is that we also find ourselves in other nations and we are constantly in fight, freeze, or fleeing. We are constantly fighting to survive where we are, adapt where we are. Our hearts are home, but we are fighting to just make a living where we are. So we really can't be grounded. And I think that is how I look at this in Kumahulu when I hear someone like Scott Sakupanya openly telling us, and you see the residents of Mabuku, despite the fact that we've had a pastor who was murdered, before he became MP. It's because we are in fight, freeze, or fleeing. It's just about survival. So we don't tap into what's really going on. The last part of what I want to say, because I may be losing my network, I'm moving a little bit. I wanted to say, Zimbabweans, if there are young people here, stop with pressure, please. don't be given pressure by this Jigananda. Kumahulu, that's one thing that has been irritating me. People who come to our young people and say, all is well in Zimbabwe. People who say, and I think I've reprimanded some of them here on social media, people who say there's opportunities in Zimbabwe. That's called gaslighting. Because we know very well that they are amassing their wealth the back door, the illegal, the gold mafia style. And then they come and then they gaslight our young people. Don't ever be made to feel like you're not doing your best or you're inadequate. Because at one point I even also felt the same way. And I'll drop names here. I observed a sister who runs the food chain on Zianaya, and only to realize that one of the gentlemen mentioned by Comrade Geza is actually one of her sponsors. And I went to Yanaya when I was in Zimbabwe. I ate, I was excited. Like, how is this sister managing to do this? But when you start to realize the source of funding, then remove the pressure from yourselves to pour pressure, because you are doing the best you can with what you have. And the rest is Shigananda. The money has been amassed on your backs and you're suffering. And I think that's my message I want to resonate with today. Mama Host, back to you.
Right, thank you. Thank you very much, Sister Comfort. And we can hear that you are walking around there, but I think we managed to hear everything that you have said. So for those who are just joining us, the main message from Comrade Blessed Geza is the empowerment, the massive empowerment of Kudakwashe Tagore, making him now the richest man in Zimbabwe. Kuvimba was worth 1.6 billion just a year ago, and now is worth almost 5 billion. So you are talking about an additional almost 3.5 billion in terms of income there created. We can say asset created within a year, and therefore that makes Kudakwashe Tagore a billionaire and the richest man in the country. And Comrade Blessed Geza is claiming, if you can read the centrist report on the Zimbabwe sovereign wealth, as well as the Kuvimba issues and Mutapa investments, you will discover that of the 1.6 billion which it was worth, that money was actually made available by the same government of Zimbabwe. So the money did not come from Kudakwashe Tagore, it came from the government. So in terms of how did Kudakwashe Tagore end up owning so much of Kuvimba investment, it is still murky, it is still not very clear in terms of how did he manage to do that. But then now here we are, he is connected to Kuvimba, and Comrade Blessed Geza is saying that the government used its own money to promote this man and to make him the richest man in Zimbabwe and a billionaire, by far surpassing now the owner of Econet, Strive Masiwa. So what is your take when it comes to this? Because Comrade Geza added that all this is being done, and Kudakwashe Tagore now has ambitions of becoming the president of the country, with so much in terms of the massive war chest that he is having. That could as well happen. So we're going now to the speakers. Let me just unmute everybody. Somebody pressed the button there by mistake. So we start with Ngobani. Ngobani, welcome to the
Hello,
space.
hello. I just love to
How,
say hello.
how are you
Oh,
today?
I'm great. I'm great, my brother. Wow, that's amazing. I'm very happy about what Keza said. And I've been following this Kutakwashe Kuvimba saga for quite a while. On my timeline, if you check, I posted a link to my YouTube video I did last year in October. It's a 1 hour long video that explains the intricate details of this whole thing that Geza was talking about. The title of the video is How Tagore Swindled 1.6 billion from all of us. Now, this is how the guy did it. Uh, Tagore, what he did, if you listen to Geza, he says Tagore stole mines from the military and from the government. What he did in the past 5 or 6 years, he was buying mining assets, some which were owned by the government, and some were owned by the military, some by foreign investors. Most of those mines were not so functional, or they're not making profits, but he just collected a basket of companies through his own Zimbabwean company. It's a complex structure that he created that involved funding from outside the country, because some of the companies, it was difficult for him to buy as Kutakwashe. So he had to use some France, he had companies like Sotic International, which was based in Mauritius, blah blah blah. But then here is what Geza was talking about. I will explain to you what this 1.5 billion. I put it at 1.6, but let's use 1.5 that Geza used. This is what the story is. After Takure bought all of those companies, I did my own personal evaluation, and I evaluated them at somewhere between 200 to 400 million US dollars, including the one that you got from the Zimbabwe military. It was a company that is worth around 300 or 400 million, but he paid very little with a promise to pay in the next 10 years or so. But there's only one non-payment. But then I'm sure that's what we're talking about. That it was taken from the military. It was never really paid back. They only paid only once. So now here is the thievery. Let me make it clear to you who the thievery. Kutakwashe buys companies worth $200 million, right? Keeps it in his own company. What does he do? He goes to his coach Canada. His name is called John Mankucha. I don't even know why I didn't mention his name. John Mankucha is the CEO of the Mutapa Investment Fund. What Mutapa Investment Fund did is this: the 35% share, which Mutapa paid 1.5, let's say 1.5 billion to Kutakwashe Takwire, was for these mining companies I'm talking about, which I believe are somewhere between 200 to 300 or 400 million dollars. But Mankucha bought those companies from Kutakwashe for 1.5 to 1.6 billion dollars. You understand? So the crime there is taking something that is worth 200 million and buying it for 1.6 billion. Why would you do that? You see, so the other criminal is John Manguja, because he was wrong when he did that. So I did a video of this thing. It's 1 hour long. It's got a lot of details into it. So I want to clarify also the 4.5 billion that guys are talking about. Now, this company called Kubimba Mining in 2021, it was evaluated at 2 billion. In 2022, it was also reevaluated at 1.5 billion, right? 1.5 billion was the evaluation in 2022. Okay. Now, if the whole company was worth 1.5 billion, including that 35% that Takure owned, it means that the shares of Takure were valued at $500 million, right? Because 35% of 1.5 billion is somewhere, it's a third, it's somewhere around $500 million. Now, you would have thought that uh, uh, John Manguja would have bought the 35% owned by Takure's Simpi Resources. The company that Takure owns is called Simpi Resources. You would have thought that John Manguja would have bought it for 500 million at least, because that is 35% of 1.5 billion. No, he bought it at 1.5 billion, re-evaluating Kuvimba mining to 4.5 billion. What it just means is that Kuvimba is a $1.5 billion company. It's just that when John Manguja and Takwere wanted to steal from us, they re-evaluated the company to 4.5 billion, which is a fictitious valuation. They did it for the purpose of overcharging, of overpaying companies that in my calculation, they're somewhere around $200 million. But then Kutakwashe sold those companies for 1.5 billion, which is a racket. This is how these guys are stealing from our government. And that money, where did it come from? I will tell you where the money came from. The government took out a loan of 3 billion a year or 2 years ago. 1.9 billion of that loan was given to Mutapa Investment Fund. And what did Mutapa Investment Fund do with 1.9 billion? They took this 1.5 billion and gave it to Kutakwashe, supposedly for the 35% shares that Kutakwashe held, right? So Gulu, I'm John Mankusha. You are my friend Hulu. You own 35% of this company called Govimba. Your shares are worth 500 million. But you are my friend. We're gonna make a deal and say, let us re-evaluate the whole company from 1.5 billion to 4.5 billion so that I can buy your 35% at 1.5 billion instead of 500 million. Do you understand? That is how the Gray stole from us together with John Mankucha. Yeah, so he missed the name, the other
Yeah.
important name.
Yeah. So I mean, what you have said, Mobani, makes a lot of sense. So for those who might have missed what Mobani has said, so basically, Kudata Gray had a couple of mining stacks in Zimbabwe worth somewhere between 200 million and something, maybe slightly
Yeah.
above that. And now you have the government coming in with 1.6 billion to buy a stake in Kudata Guire's company, and that 1.6 billion was borrowed through the issuance of treasury bills by the government, which means the Zimbabwe's national debt had to increase for that to be done. And now, with the new valuation of the same company that was worth 1.6 billion to 4.5 billion, what it then means is that the 35% that Kudata Gray was owning in that company then also increases now to the 1.6 billion. So, in other words, he is now worth 1.6 billion. He gets 1.6 billion. Now, that makes him now, if you can look at the other money that he has, that makes him now the richest Zimbabwean. And I'm saying, what is your take when it comes to these fellow countrymen?
And who is all in Zimbabwe
without a single
after
without a
all?
single product without
The
a single
president
product
has
at
got a
ZITF.
problem.
Yeah,
Not could I,
Martin. Oh, Martin. Unfortunately, we must not do that. That is very wrong because the host was actually just making a point quickly there, because we want to move with the speakers. Novani, thank you very much for that. Um, Host Zimai, you just wanted to say a quick one there.
Yes, it was just a half line to say without a single product to display at the ZITF. He's now richer than Strive Masiwa
Yes.
without a single toothpick to display that Sakunda or any of his companies, including CBZ,
Yeah.
are producing
So
to the economy.
and yeah, so Kudakwashe Tagre, now the richest Zimbabwean. Mudara, what is your take? He has become the richest Zimbabwean without any single product or service displayed at the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair, and the government helping him so much. What do you say about this whole scenario that we are facing now? I mean, Comrade Geza has just told us.
Thank you very much, Hulu. Thank you very much, Zimai. And this issue has been going on since last year or year before last year. I am a former vice president of a huge mining company. I am respected in London as a fundraiser for mining. When I saw that, I was extremely angry. What you sell when you are selling, which is what I would like Zimbabweans to keep in mind for the future. When you are selling mines or a mining portfolio, you sell a resource. You sell a resource. That's what we take to any mining conference, the biggest being the PDA in Canada, and people have been going down to South Africa for the Indaba. And then there are some that come in there. My company was quoted at Nasdaq Stock Exchange, and it was also quoted at Frankfurt Stock Exchange in Germany. We used to file every year with the Security Exchange Commission of America. If you Google my name, you find it. If you go on to Objective Capital Conferences, you find it. And I'm very proud that when it comes to stealing, is what Kuda is doing. This is Brazil. What we are talking here, we're talking about the money. But what we are also not talking about is how much government is sinking itself when it gets deadwood. You sell a resource, not an inferred resource. A proper resource will be required to comply with NI 43101. That's the standard measure of a resource and its credibility around the world. It's the same. You know, with the gold mafia, they could get dowries from here, they go to Dubai, they go on to refineries, and refineries, they put a stamp. Once it is a stamp of Switzerland, it becomes purely legal. But they would have gone through various ways. That's why the American government is still um, investigating, and that's why they came up with Patney and his whole line. So the theft here is that us as Zimbabweans have bought nothing. There's also another board called JOC, which is an Australian standard, and then there's SAMRAG, the Indian standard. So if you say you have bought Kulimba for 1.6 billion, 1.5 billion, what did you buy? Did you buy a resource? In other words, the mineral content or mineral that is at the bottom should be able to give us that amount.
And Dara, just to clarify that, remember that we are talking here about Kudagwashita Gray still owning 35% of that same company. So basically, the government paid the 1.6 billion, which is equivalent to 65% of what the company was worth. That is a year ago, right?
That's what I'm saying.
35%.
That company should
Okay,
have
Mudara, just a moment.
that worth.
I just want to clarify that. So Ngobani, you agree, right?
35%, they paid 1.6 billion for 35% of Kotakwashe's shareholding.
So you are saying Kudakoshe still owns 65%?
No. The whole company as a whole, 100% of the company, 65% was owned by the government, 35% was owned by Simpi Resources, a company that is controlled by Kutakwashe Takwere. So it is that.
Okay.
So the government which owns
So they
Okay,
bought
so
him
the
off.
quantum,
they
quantum
were
bought him
taking
total
off.
over the rest of the
valuation.
35.
Okay, Dara, just a moment. So the quantum total valuation then is 1.6 billion of the entire company, right?
So the valuation in 2022 was 1.5 billion of the entire
Yes, I guess.
100%,
Yeah, we
meaning that
get that.
Kotakwashe's 35% should have been around 500 million. But
Yes, I
when
get it.
so
I
but
understand.
then when he was selling his 35%, they re-evaluated the company to 4.5 billion, which is actually a
Yes, I get
potential
it. Yeah,
valuation.
I understand. So I just
But
because I just want to make it make sense for our audience to understand why Kudata Gray is now the richest man in Zimbabwe, surpassing Strive Masiwa. So Dara, as you are talking
yeah,
there, put that into perspective. Please go
yeah.
ahead, and I will be going to
So
the other speakers. And for those who are requesting, ladies and gentlemen, I will be bringing you up shortly. And thank you again for joining Zimai and joining me, Hulu at Pachiso Live, as we analyze the submission by Comrade Blessed Geza, Comrade Bombshell. Dara, go ahead.
so the theft here, Hulu, is not necessarily the percentage bought or the amount paid. The theft here is that we are paying, or the taxpayer paid for nothing. We are saying the mines are holding nothing unless otherwise. I saw they evaluated Kuvimba to 16 billion. I understand because of other. But for these Kuvimba mining mines,
Dara,
because
sorry, repeat again.
It is a monitor before you
What?
close.
Martin,
what I'm
I'm gonna drop you. I don't want people who speak like that. Martin, please don't do that. We need to have decorum. We must respect decorum, please. We want our people to follow, right? So Dara, you
what I'm saying
mentioned a
is,
figure there. What did you say?
yeah, what I'm saying is that if you are buying suppose you're buying a cow to take to your butchery, you need to know the weight, and then you pay. Now, the the valuation of Kovimba is supposed to be based on the mineralization of that portfolio. That was never done. So even if we talk of percentages and figures, but the issue is that do we have an actual resource? There is an inferred resource or an assumed resource. In this case, I guess they made an assumption that this is worth this much, and they gave him 1.5 billion. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying. That forget about this. What we will actually want in the future is to see the valuation. We need to see the mineralization of that company for them to be able to, not the shares. The shares, they can value them at any amount. But are we buying shares that will be able to give us a positive stream of cash flows in the future? Are we getting an ROI for the investment that is above what we paid for?
So
Because
Dara, that is a good point. That is a good point. Who does the assessment to
the
give us an
assessment,
estimate of
the
the
assess.
value that we are buying? Who does that?
I
Who
don't
should be
want.
doing that?
I don't want. I don't want to mention here in Zimbabwe. There's only one company, and that one company is affiliated to a British company. I don't want to say that because some of them are on this. They will go and manipulate. There's one company here. I'll give you in private who can do what I am talking of the valuation. All these other Mickey Mouse geologists can't. They can't. So
All right.
what we are saying is that this is a clear brazen theft where there is no underlying asset to justify the payment. That's all I'm saying.
Mm.
They can calculate shares, they can come up with that. It's okay. But do we have a resource that is justified?
All
Is
right.
our
So
cow that if a cow or if beef or if pork is selling for so much per kg, do we have the kgs? You find
yeah,
right
I
that
get it.
we have
Yeah.
bought.
So
Yeah.
hold
Thank you.
hold the thought there, Dara, because I want you and Novani to continue to give us direction because of your experience in the mining industry. Let me just bring another speaker to join
Thank you.
us. Yeah, but thank you very much, Dara. I appreciate that submission, Novani. I appreciate that submission. And Dini Zimbabwe, welcome to the space. Please take the mic. Now we are talking here about Kudakwashe Tagore now becoming the richest man in Zimbabwe. And Comrade Geza said he has got ambitions of even becoming the president of the country. And we know how money can buy people easily, especially in our country, Zimbabwe. We've seen how Shabangu and a coterie of other MPs were easily bought by the ruling party to support government, especially on issues to do with the 2030 and things like that. It is not very difficult to buy people. Pastors have been bought easily by Whitney Ojivire by simply offering them cars. Here he is now, Kudakwashe Tagore, with this big war chest. Do you think it gives him an opportunity to become the president through buying people, through using this resource that he just simply got for free? What is your take when it comes to that, Dini Zimbabwe?
Thank you, Ulu. How are you and how is Simba there? Other submitters, I appreciate Ngobani, I appreciate Mdara. Apparently you have put too much on my plate. That is the aim, actually, that is the goal. When you see a businessman who has been claiming that he has been running businesses, wanting now to join the political forum in the country, that means he has got the means. He has actually created the means and the ways to buy his way into the corridors of power, so that whatever he has accumulated, whatever he has created to be, whatever he claims to be his wealth needs to be protected now, right? He knows that Zimbabweans have been watching. There are people like Mdara, there are people like Ngobani, there are people like you who are always there following these numbers. And if you give us now this information, because I myself, I will not claim to be a person of interested in numbers, right? And I also, at one point, was a little bit agitated because you know what numbers does? If you go with this person in a court of law, what will happen is you will find ways, you through his lawyers or defenders, you find ways to come out clean because you are mentioning numbers. But it's good that you have people like you, we have people like Martin, we have people like I like Mdara and Ngomani who follows numbers. And these numbers, if you prove that actually people were being stolen from, they actually this is actually puts away what you use in the court of law to put away a person. Behind bars, right? So thank you very much. But me, I will talk as a foot soldier. Uh, what I just need at this point in time is a trigger of some sort. I'm not going to say that is Ulu because you are going to drop me and you don't want that. I know that. But in this case, what I feel when I hear all these numbers that you are talking with is anger in my stomach, anger in my head, because I know that whatever they are doing, the end goal is to buy people, as you have mentioned. We have seen it. People of a huge following, they are approached, they are being given gifts, cars, and stuff like that. And wherever they are in front of their audience, what they say or what they not say says a lot. I think you get me when I say that. They are going to be quiet. You can hear a person of a popular person in Zimbabwe, socialite or anything, say anything else, but he is not going to mention that, you know what, in our country we are suffering. In our country we don't have roads, we don't have medication in hospitals. The hospitals are depleted and they are deplorable. And they are in deplorable states. They are not going to say that because they have been given uh, gifts that you are going to shut their mouth. So for the meantime, let me just digest my anger while this I'm listening to people who have got probably valuable points and valuable the numbers, because we need to hear these
Yeah.
numbers so that we actually know what is going, what are we losing as a country, what are we losing as a people, what is being stolen from us, because actually as Zimbabweans we don't like numbers, but it's good that we listen to this. Thank you so much, bro.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, we must not miss the point. Kudakwashe Tagire had some mines which were worth somewhere between 200 million or slightly more, and the government offered then to buy into that company, of which to Kudata Gray owned 35%, and the government owned the rest. But now the government has got 100% then ownership of the company by paying Kudakwashita Grace this portion of the ownership using 1.9 billion. Is it 1.9 billion? Yeah, because now the valuation of the company has gone to 4.5 billion. So if you work out the numbers there, the 35% of it, Kudakwashita Gray now gets the billions and walks away, and the government is saddled with the debt because now the government had to pay that through debt. So what it then means is that generations to come will now be owing owing these billions. And Mudara was asking, what value are we getting from Kuvimba mining, from this company called Kuvimba? That's why we would wish to speak to them if they were willing to come over here and explain the details in terms of what is going on with this thing, rather than us, say, for example, fumbling around and saying things that are probably incorrect here and there. So, if they don't want to speak to the citizens, then who can blame the citizens for discussing these issues, because these are issues that are in the public domain. So Kudakwa Shitagure walks away with billions, and it is incredible. After investing something like 200 million, you walk away with almost 2 billion, ladies and gentlemen, making you the richest Zimbabwean. Unbelievable stuff. Some people can be very lucky indeed. But well, let's move with the speakers. Let me go to Honorable Dr. Samuel Banda. Dr. Banda, welcome to the space. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you, my brother Hulu?
I'm very good, Dr. Banda. So here we are, Dr. Banda. Kudakwa Shitagure walks away from Kuvimba as the richest man in Zimbabwe, surpassing Strive Masiwa. What are your thoughts? This is, of course, according to Comrade Blessed Geza. What are your thoughts? Go ahead.
Honestly, Hulu, firstly, greetings to you. Like I said, to my brother Simba, to all the listeners who are here, and it's a shame. It's a total shame that somebody who does nothing to the country becomes the richest person in the country. Where in which other country do you hear that a person who literally doesn't like export anything or export minimally becomes the highest ranked person in the country in terms of wealth? That is unheard of. What are we promoting as a country? We are now saying there is no need to go to school. It's useless to go to university. It's useless to go to any college. It's useless just even to work, just even to go to pick up a hoe and go to your maize field or your groundnut field or your potted field. It doesn't matter anymore. What now matters is who am I connected to? That is what really matters. Let me go back before we even go to what the situation that we have now. We need also to look at the chronicle of what really happened. And I'll quote Ndoro from 2019. Ndoro found out that Kudata Gray, through RBZ, if you remember, their assets were frozen in 2019. Among them, there was Spartan Security, there was Croco Motors, there was Access Finance. Because of their relationship into offloading funds into sort out banks onto the black market. When the country literally had no money, they had the money, and they are the ones who detected how the black market rates move. I think we are also aware of what was happening in terms of Tagwire would be given like treasury bills. He would buy treasury bills. Then after buying those treasury bills in RTGS, then all of a sudden when the currency changes, and it's now 1-on-1, and then within 20 days the currency is off. So this primate uncivilized accumulation of wealth, it started a long time ago. And based on the study that I did, it found that in Zimbabwe, the most dangerous thing that has happened, that has crippled our economy, are cartels. And these cartels are not small cartels. They are really, really, really big cartels who are funded and protected by politicians. As politicians, we are the ones who have made even the Kudata grade to be what is not supposed to be. So it is very, very disappointing. So imagine how Strive Masiwa will feel. Does he say, no, I just can't continue doing business because it's not fair. I got my money through hard work. I got my money from top level innovations. But look at a simple guy with just a civil what do you call this? A service station, and is now the richest person in the country. Not only that, now he has got power ambitions. So that is where it becomes very dangerous and very delicate. Like what Comrade Geza said, to say now he not only has the money, he now wants the president. And in Zimbabwe, we know that the president is not even about the riches. The president is how you maneuver the ZANU-PF system so that in an election, how hard do they rig it for you? We saw in 2008 how they rigged so much until President Morgan Tsvangirai, Dr. Morgan Tsvangirai said, no, let them do whatever they want to do. Let's not vote. If you're forced to vote, go vote for them.
Yeah.
So that we just have peace. So one has got all the money that they need, which they do not necessarily need. And now they've also got the rigging system behind them. I'm telling you,
all right,
we are in deep trouble. It's now to protect the stolen property that they have for values which are just come from out of the air. They are just like saying today something bread is supposed to be $1 today, tomorrow they just said bread is $10 out of nowhere. There is no formula about this. So it's
all right.
It makes us very angry. It makes us very angry. And unfortunately,
exactly.
It makes us very angry. Unfortunately, Zimbabweans do not react. If it was in other countries, if what Comrade Bolshev is exhibited to the public, if it had been said in another country, oh, my brother Hulu, will be talking of something else. But I think it's about
Dr. Banda. Yeah. We'll hold it there, Dr. Banda. I'm still going to come back to you. Let me just run with the speakers, but we do take note of that. 10 minutes to 10 in Harare. Also at 10 minutes to 10 p.m. in the city of Bulawayo. And thank you for joining Zimai and joining me, Hulu, at Fictitious Life. And of course, this is about our people. It is about our country. We must always remember that. Let me go to Muzi. Muzi, welcome to the space. So we have a situation here, Muzi, where this may not even apply to, Kudata Aguirre alone. As Comrade Bombshell has exposed today. Perhaps his next statement is going to be about another individual. So today's submission by Comrade Blessed Geza is more to do with the corruption bedeviling our own country, Zimbabwe. And he singled out one individual, Kudakwashi Tagore, and even mentioned that he also is feeling very, very much angry and shaking. And he even said that he feels like shedding tears as he was talking. So, Muzi, what is your take that somebody just all of a sudden overnight becomes the richest Zimbabwean, becomes a multi-billionaire, and without really putting up the effort, like all of us? And Parenyato Hospital ceilings are falling. Salim Mugabe Hospital not having painkillers. Yet you need only US dollar 40,000 to put up a maternity hospital at Parenyato to refurbish it and make it look good. But they cannot do that. What is wrong? What has gone wrong with our government? What has gone wrong with our war veterans? What has gone wrong with those who freed us from British colonialism in 1980? Is it a sad day or is it a sad day, Muzi? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Ulu, Brasimba, and everyone on the space. I think the biggest problem that we have is not maybe Tagwire. The biggest problem that we have is those who support him, those who made him to be untouchable. If that's the biggest problem, because when you look at Tagwire, he's just nothing, but he's now something from nowhere. Why? Because there are people who are supporting him. That's the problem with the Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, there's a thing that before we can even open our eyes, there are some people who are building something, I can say a group of mafias that only subscribe to their policy of controlling Zimbabwe, the economy and everything. Look at this one from Chisumbanje, the one that is having those farm, that one who was taking the farmland in Chirezi. He's someone from Norway, he's a foreigner, but he's now someone. Why? Because there's someone who is protecting him. On Tagwire now, we are talking of the mine now, but there is a very, very deep and big thing that is happening. Taguire, he's controlling this CBZ and everything. And CBZ now, if you go now to the people who are in the farms, they are being told to pay. They are buying land from whom? From whom Taguire and the president. Why I'm saying from Taguire and the president? Because they are saying the bank, the CBZ, is there and other banks are there. Those banks are also subscribing and they are controlled by CBZ. They are there to assist you. But if you fail to complete your payment, the piece of land that the bank will come and calculate and say, this piece of land that you failed to pay is now theirs. They will take the land. That automatically means that it's maybe from now and 10 years to come. If there are people who are in the farms and they're failing to pay their farms, Taguire will also going to take those land through CBZ, and he's going to sell them either to the state, back to the state, like what he did to the mine. So who is facilitating those things? Don't ever think that these people, they are not seeing all these what you are saying, everything the state is, but our war veterans, including Chiwenga himself. I was saying one day, it was a long back when my brother was still alive, a major. I was asking my brother, what's the future you are seeing working under this under the arm since from the war, and now look at what is happening. Why can't you just leave and go out of Zimbabwe, then do something? Because you are seeing, and you know these people, they are not going to stop controlling what the politics of Zimbabwe. He said, my brother, there is nothing we can do. I am the last born. He was the second born in my, but he was a big name, even Vereros Banda, oh, they know him. Then I was saying, it's better for you to leave, because where we are going in the future, these people, they are going to form these cartels and they are going to grow and they're going to be powerful, that even going to election, even going to do anything, trying to do anything against them is going to be punished by death. He said, I know. But now, this is the reality. The people whom we should blame is the people who sometimes try to come and say, corruption is killing Zimbabwe, but you are there in the government, you are seeing corruption is killing Zimbabwe. What are you going to do? In 2017, SB Sibanda, Chiwenga, they left the constitution of Zimbabwe and said,
SB Moyo.
I mean, sorry, yeah, yes, SB Moyo. When they lift that book and say they are going to remove the thieves around Mugabe, and instantly they also, at that time, they also removed Mugabe. Why is it not difficult for them to do the same? Because they are the one who put Mnanga up. They are the one, even now they see people the anger is growing. What are they expecting 10 years to come when the people are going to be removed from their farms and everything is going to be given to Taguire, the one whom we are talking about today? He's there. He's there, Chiwenga, and he's seeing. I'm saying Chiwenga because we once visited him, once him with my brother. He knows. But why is he letting these people do this? Why is he not taking the same action that, that time it was better. He was just talking about the thieves around Mugabe. But now we know them, and people are naming the names. They even expose, they have got evidence to show that these people, they are doing this. The time when the joke and the other war veteran refused Taguire and his team when they want to go to them to stamp that thing of repossessing the land. Why is it not that they said no, but now it's going ahead? They refuse, but it's still going ahead. But they are there. We are talking of the mine, but the land is being repossessed and given to one person, Taguire, because he's the one who's controlling the CBZ. So, as Zimbabweans, we are going to live maybe in our land in Zimbabwe, saying we are Zimbabweans, but we will be maybe buying Zimbabwe from someone. Is it going to be good for us? The evidence is there, but they are quite this whole veterans. So I'm being angered about that, Braulu, because we know a lot. Our brothers, they fought for this. We even sit with them, asking them questions. because they were very civilized and rational minded during that time. But I don't know what they have done now that they can't even sit with us and talk to them. But brother Varado Spanga, what's going wrong? What is the problem? Why are you letting
All right.
Zimbabwe being taken by one person? And for me to leave now, I want to tell you one thing. It's not Tagwire who said I want to be the president. No, there are people, those people under that cartel. They see that this young Mnangagwa cannot take the reign of Mnangagwa, but because they are in together with all the deals and everything, Mnangagwa benefiting from them, and all some other generals and everything. So they are now putting him as a joker. That maybe this one, if you do this because you now have money, we are going to survive. So we have to find a way where we can maybe revalidate ourselves. Thank you, Bravo.
All right, thank you very much. We will be reshuffling the speakers. I mean, some of the speakers, we will be reshuffling them. Dara, we want him to be there. Ngobani, we want him to be there because of their vast knowledge of mining and mining stories related to this issue. So we are moving now to Patawe, to Samvura, because your hand is up. So we are moving to you, Samvura. Patawe FM, welcome also to the space. For those who are just joining us, we are talking here about we are analyzing the speech, the submission from war veteran, Blessed Runesu Geza, Comrade Bombshell. He has singled out Kudakwashe Tagwire and explained how the government, our government, has single-handedly made him the most wealthy individual in the country, richer than Strive Masiwa, by handing out close to 2 billion to him in Kuvimba, a company that he paid much less for, and whose value, I mean, Dara was estimating there to say, the value has not even been clarified in terms of how much value is the government going to get from those mines. And Kudakwashi Tagwire did not take out any money for them. The government had to borrow money to pay him, for the portion of those mines, and meaning that Zimbabwe's debt balloons higher and higher. It was, in my last count, 21 billion US dollar in debt, and after that transaction. So it is something to ponder about, something that many people feel very much frustrated. But we have got a government that came to power through votes, and that government is unwilling to send people here to answer to these type of questions, and to be asked questions, and to be able to clarify these issues. A government voted in by the people, made up of war veterans who fought in the war to liberate us, is not willing to talk to anybody. They're just going on as if nothing happened. And yet many died at Chimoyo and Nyazonya, and others in unmarked graves. Think about Herbert Chitepo. Think about Josiah Magama Tongogar. They all perished without seeing 1980. And we were hoping that, maybe a government made up of Black people can be responsive and can actually be able to speak to the people. It is a sad day, even for me, also for others who are in the space, a somber mood for everybody. But we continue to talk about these issues. It is about our country. So, Samvura, welcome to the space, my friend. This is a day that I think many people are so saddened, and unfortunately, we have no answers from our government. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. And thank you to all the speakers that were before me. All your points were very valid. I'm just gonna make a disclaimer that the views that I'm about to share are my views. I think the challenge that we have as Zimbabweans is intellectualizing kleptocracy. I think we suffer from paralysis by analysis. What Geza has put on the table is intelligence. And we should have amongst us either those in the prosecution or those in the legal space. We need to take this intelligence, package it either in dossiers, or whatever form to build a case and take the legal route, like a lot of people were suggesting earlier, and bringing all this to book. I think the problem we have as a people really is that we are taken advantage of. Unfortunately, the Smith regime was a government that was founded on criminality. And I believe our government adopted the system of criminality where the laws were not changed. Some laws that were used by the previous regime to suppress our rights are still being used by the same regime, our current government, to suppress our rights as well. So I think people will do and get away with what they can. So our government is doing what they're doing because they can. It's as simple as that. There's nothing intellectual about it. They have the military behind them. They have the force to enforce their kleptocracy, and therefore they will continue to suppress us because they have the power to do so. So I think as a people, what we need right now is cold, hard thinking. We need to start thinking, how did we take power from the Smith regime that was illegitimate? We need to clearly come up with solutions where going forward, if we are to reform our country and reform our legal system and reform our whole form of justice and governance, we need to seriously consider an African format where we are doing things our way. So we need to get rid of the Roman Dutch laws. We need to get rid of all the laws that are oppressing us. I'll give you a simple example. When I say people do what they do because they can. If you look at America, where you have armed groups, or where it is legal for people to bear arms, yeah, they know that there's a backlash. If they do nonsense as a government, their people can easily uprise and cause chaos. So in our government, they managed to disarm the population. So we don't have the right to bear arms. We are defenseless. So as a defenseless population, people will get away with what they can get away with as long as they have the power to do so. So we really need to reconsider our position as a people, as a nation, whether we change the laws to reintroduce our rights to bear arms, and find means of having a counter force to counter any kleptocracy and any oppression, because oppression by any form is oppression. Oppression by any people is oppression. If white people are oppressing us, it's oppression. If our own people are oppressing us, it's oppression. And as human beings, our desire is freedom. So no matter what happens, we always strike out for freedom, because that's our default position, to be free. There's no one who wants to be under duress at any point. So as a people, we're under duress. So earlier people were saying we don't
All right.
understand the figures. We do understand the numbers. Yeah, the reality is we're under duress. Yeah. You can't say we don't understand the numbers. We do understand the numbers. But the question is, what can we do about it? And that's what we need to engage in, that cold hard thinking, to say, okay, these are the facts. This is the reality. What's the solution? Yeah, and let's stop
Right,
joking
the
around and
solution that
saying
Mnangagwa
we
is
can't do
going
this,
to
we
go
can't do
away
that
now.
because of legal reasons. We have to be realistic and say, pragmatically, this is what we need to do. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Samvura. Let me just move to Juggernaut. Juggernaut, welcome to the space. Patari FM, I will be with you shortly. Dini Zimbabwe as well. I see your hand. And Tapiwa, I see your hand. We will be with you shortly. So, Juggernaut, are you ready for President Taguire, if ever that is the case?
Well, that will be an unfortunate day for the country and for those strategists believing that they can impose Takwire on the people. That would be what was described as an abortive political gambit. That will never happen, under the people's watch. No matter how docile they might think Zimbabweans are, I know that Zimbabweans are a clever people, they are an intellectual people, but now they are slowly being turned upside down through division by politicians using money, because the biggest enemy that the people in Zimbabwe have is poverty. Has created enormous divisions between people, amongst people. There are those who cannot live without politicians because those are their lifeline. Those are enjoying the benefits of trinkets from the massive state resources and corruption. So my issue began in 2018, Hulu, when I was analyzing the public financial management system, which is named the PFMS. This is a system in government which links all the government ministries to Treasury and the Ministry of Finance, and it helps in the disbursement of funds from the budgeted funds of the country. That's how they disperse money to various ministries for different activities. Basically, it is the blood and veins of the country. That is what keeps the country moving forward. That is what keeps the country moving, smoothly. But I also want to point to you that besides the Takwire and other big wigs corruption that Comrade Geza has alluded to here earlier on, we also have cartels within the ministries. We have cartels within the government ministries. Small cartels, these are people who are being given funds disbursed from the Ministry of Finance through the PFMS system, the Public Finance Management System. As of 2018, according to the Auditor General's report, there are 7 ministries which failed to acquit their accounts to account for what they did with the monies that was allocated to them. One such ministry was the Ministry of Public Service. Ministry of Public Service was given money, about $10 million by a donor to pay towards what they call the harmonized cash transfer system. This is an amount of money that is given to underprivileged members of society in the form of cash for them to be able to at least look after themselves and create small, a source of income, for 3 to 4 months per family. That money, according to that report, was sent back to that ministry because they failed to disperse it. The reason that was given by the ministry was that they could not facilitate the opening of bank accounts for the beneficiaries. Now, tell me, in a country like Zimbabwe, where there's a push for banking the unbanked, where there's a push to put connectivity in the form of optic fiber to increase capacity in terms of internet connectivity, where there's a proliferation of banking methods like the EcoCash, the Telecash, and all other forms of transfers and mobile money. You tell me that a government agency cannot mobilize just 500 people and open bank accounts. Even POSB or any other small bank can do that, by the click of a button. So that money, however, as it was turned back to the donor then put it back to the ministry to give them more time to do that, to disperse it, but that never happened. The Auditor General is on record pointing out such problems. Then the Ministry of Justice, through the Judiciary Services Commission, again is named as having misused government funds. How did they do it? The magistrates and other staff and court officials were double dipping. They were paying themselves double salaries from the allocated budget. This was picked up by the Auditor General. And when they were asked why they were doing that, they had to justify that they were doing double shifts because there was a shortage of labor. Tell me there's 90% unemployment in the country, and you give a flimsy excuse that there's a shortage of labor when people are mingling in the streets. Somebody with a PhD is selling sweets or brine sausages at Meriki, trying to make a living. So these small cartels within government departments, that's why they are quiet. When you talk of civil servants are underpaid, it's just rhetoric. Those people are also stealing because they are aware of the bigger picture. where billions of dollars are being, siphoned by the likes of Taguire, as mentioned by Comrade Geza. There's also another scam that I want to put to you, where if people are traveling abroad, that is government officials, they apply for money, the per diems from the Ministry of Finance is dispersed through the PFMS system. Under normal circumstances in a functional government, that money is supposed to be accounted for. If you go out of the country, when you come back, you acquit whatever you used, using the receipts and everything, whatever is left, you put it back to Treasury. That has not been happening. People have not been writing reports to say, have they actually left the country? They have not even made a copy of their passport to prove that they left the country. Where's the departure stamp? Where's the returning stamp? People have been asking for money from Treasury to say, I have got an engagement, government engagement in London. The government forks out $5,000, $3,000 for your upkeep in London for the next 4 days. They buy a ticket through a travel agency who inflate that ticket as well, and then share the proceeds with the person who's traveling. So it's a mess. It's a mess. The PFMS system itself, as of 2019, it was not paid for. The person who provided the software was actually complaining that the government has not finished paying for that software, and therefore he was holding on to the passwords, which means that there's somebody out there who's not a government official, but who has got the ability to go into the public finance management system, change figures, manipulate figures, erase transactions, put transactions, and tamper with the budget for the whole nation. It is a scandal.
All right.
It's a scandal. So
All right.
if there's also another role in IT, myself, I'm a data governance specialist. There's a rule that if you're going to be using a system like that, you're supposed to imprint your digital signature as acknowledgement for using and complying with the terms and references and conditions of using such a system. Not even a single government official appended their signature, meaning that even legally speaking, if we put this issue into a court of law, those people will be acquitted because they're not liable, because they have not agreed to the user terms and conditions of the public finance management system. So I'll come back again with full information, exposing ministry by ministry. The last ministry is the Ministry of, is CMED actually, the Central Mechanical Equipment Department. This is a government arm that hires out vehicles to government ministries. So CMED was created, it was given motor vehicles. They are given a motor vehicle, let's say a Land Cruiser 300 series. They rent it out to the Ministry of Finance, and guess how much that Land Cruiser will be paid per month by the Ministry of Finance. They can pay as much as $5,000 to $10,000 a month to CMED to hire a car that is being used by an employee of government who is on record for being paid $250 per month or even $100. But that person continuously goes to work because they are benefiting from the system. So CMED has got a waiver to import fuel out of the country, duty-free. And this fuel is supposed to help, in the smooth running of government or government departments. But as of 2019, according to the Auditor General's report, the fuel that was bought, by CMED, which was not paid duty for, was around about 3.5 million liters at that time. This was just one transaction. Out of the 3.5 million liters, CMED reported that they had dispersed 2 million liters, which means there's supposed to be a balance of 1.5 million. But when the auditors went on site to try and ascertain to see if really they were holding that kind of fuel, they found almost about only 45,000 liters, which is less than one fuel tanker. That is what they were holding, and they could not explain where the rest of the fuel went. So another scandal that is killing the country is a scandal being perpetrated by civil servants in the government ministries through the public finance management system. That needs to be looked into.
Ulu, can
Thank you.
Ulu, can I just interject there? Because we started the PFMS. It's actually a software that we got from SAP.
Juggernaut, can you please mute your mic?
Yeah, the PFMS was procured from SAP. There was
Juggernaut, can you please, mute your mic?
Yeah, an accounting system has no problem whatsoever. Let's leave that aside. The scandal on SAP was its cost because we were supposed to procure the same system from Cisco, but SAP then and then they moved to Zimbabwe because they moved to South Africa because their only client was quite a number of my other guys we trained together at college. They are still in SAP. Now, I hear the speaker talking about the Auditor General has mentioned this, has mentioned that, including the CMED fuel system procurement or whatever, where they lost 3 million. That case is almost going past. I am skeptical about the issue. Yeah, Auditor General. Who appoints the Auditor General? Zimaizen, who appoints the Auditor General? The Auditor General reports to Mnangagwa. The Auditor General is paid by Mnangagwa. So we don't want to talk about small little issues brought about by the Auditor General. The Auditor General cannot bring an issue, Yatagwirei. The Auditor General cannot bring an issue, the gold mafia. Saka ngatisiyei Auditor General, whatever they come in, and the ministries always have an answer to that. And also the procurement here, travel and subsistence here outside the country. Back then, the accounting system changed the way things were being done. You don't necessarily have to acquit Kanawayenda on a trip because you would have done so when you acquire your cabinet authority. You've actually been authorized to go and spend the money as you have spent. Only 2 people used to bring in their receipts that time then. Vamgabe na Vankomo. So, hakuna scandal. Scandal hakuna kwa Auditor General. Zvinopuritswa na Auditor General haisi scandal. It's a way yamnangagwa yekuti create something kuti Parliamentary Committee of Public Finance iwane chekutaura. Vanzi ivo vari kuita. Look, scrutinize. Auditor General anoreporteka kuna Mnangagwa kuti that blue book ribude rinenge authorized na Mnangagwa kuti izvi zvawaita zviri right. Atotora ma-ministries ava ati ma-answers ari kupi. They have the answers. The issue is what is going on. What is going on is not the little cartels. Trikutaura dzana Tagwirei, where they are actually selling nothing. Vachiti, number 1, up for 1.6 billion. Number 2, government yaenda muchikwereti che 1.6 billion. On the incidents of Tagwirei are 1. Those are the issues that Kuda. Those are the issues Zavasingatauri. These are not even mentioned in the Auditor General's report whatsoever. The issue ndeyekuti they passed a bill, they passed a law yekuti ivo mutapa funds does not have to account to anybody except the president. Ndiyo nyaya yatiri kuda iyoyo, ndo nyaya dzatiri kuda dzana Chivayo. Haukambonzwa iwe Chivayo achimentionwa mu-auditor report? No. Why? Because auditor report iyo the person zvangofanana nemucompany. An internal auditor anoreporta kuna CEO. Reporting kuna anyone other than that, but external auditors will report kwavo, but even their damage is controlled. But here we want proper scandal iri kutora mari yevanhu. Tiri kuda kuti tizive isu kuti Chivayo mari yaari kupa vanhu dzimota iri kubvepi, hazviuyi mu-Auditor General's report izvozvo. Tagwirei, vana Eddie Cross vari kuba mari, vari kuiwana kupi nepipeline. Hurumende iri kuba mari vana Mutulisi vari kuiwana kupi, vana Govamombe. Those are the people that will appear mu-Auditor General. Auditor General zvigunwe. Auditor General zvigunwe. Nekuti Auditor General, let's as Zimbabweans, let's not talk about the Auditor General whatsoever, because that Auditor General's reporting, they're parliamentarians. But in Parliament, yes, let them play kids play the Auditor General, because apparently Auditor General appointwa na Mnangagwa, akaappointwa na Mnangagwa, angarume Mnangagwa here. No. Anofaiwa na Mnangagwa, akaappointwa na Mnangagwa. So there's nothing in the Auditor General's report. It's just merely a talk show. Yavanoitira kuparliament kuti vagotaura vanhu vafungidzira kuti they are doing something. Truda uziya kuti 1 point. Imagine someone does not display anything but trade fair. Chivayo does not display anything but trade fair. But now, all of them have a display anything but trade fair. Even on Kroko Motors, Vanotengerwa, Motors outside Zashika and they don't display anything but trade fair. And those people, Tagure, becomes richer than Masiwa. Masiwa has got my telephone, must someone all these countries. I don't feel say, how do investors feel with this present? We need to look at my auction floors, avakaita ema currencies, ese. The other speaker was talking about them printing money. Though the biggest tax yatina munomunyika is inflation. Vanhu vakakonzera inflation, vakakonzera zvatinazvo, zvakabvira kunana gono. We need those people put behind bars. We need them investigated. We need them one day when Zimbabwe is free. Those are the people that want to take. Tinoda kuziya how much they siphoned out of this. Tagwirei atenga apuwa mine, apuwa mari. Angoita assemble a small little things, blah blah. So that's the or something like that. He actually calculated and found my mines actually worth 200,000, 200 million. Do you know what? Even without calculating, I believe him totally. And that's the value. But now the value has been amplified to 1.6 billion. And someone has been given that money. He's a billionaire. The same thing is applying. Mbudzi scheme. Panikos no ball scheme. Could ball is at 15,000 US dollars when ball is for 2,300, 2,500. These are the kind of scandals that Rikudache and Udiwan Mazmaba. Auditor General is right.
Yeah.
I know Auditor General I know because Auditor General could read that paper no print work government printers, remember. That print of government printers.
I get
So Mnangagwa will have actually ticked out everything. But yes, it is right, it is right, it is right, it is right. Vanima answers for that. Apana Kana Uri, a member of parliament. Yes. Auditor General Ndo Damiram no Tamba every single day, but that's daftness. Kuva daft, kuva do for check. But anyway. I stand up.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Ndara, putting everything into perspective. From the speaker. Charles, welcome to the space. Go ahead.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good day to fellow Zimbabweans, the host and the co-host. I greet you with so much love. I'm just disappointed. I just listened to Mr. Geza's presser. Very hurtful. You know, it's really pains what our country is going through. And just to figure out something that Mr. Mdara said, that's something that we need to take very seriously. Amount of monies were paid, taxpayers' monies were paid for nothing to show for it, and it just went into someone's pocket. But now I just got a suggestion. It might sound ridiculous, but you know, if we do protests back home, people are going to be suppressed, punished, and all that stuff. If anyone raises up a thingy, you know what happens to them. But I've got a suggestion. We need to start from the bottom. There's so much. I was listening to fellow Zimbabweans speaking here. They were speaking about stuff that's happening home. That's evidence, clear evidence. Why can't we create a charge sheet with all the evidence of what's going on and open a case as Zimbabweans, open a case with the ZRP? And if they are captured, they will need to explain to us why they will not follow up that charge sheet, so that we open a case as Zimbabweans against everything that is happening. Then the ZLP isn't they won an award at trade fair. They need to practice what their mandate is all about. And cases are open to each and every one of these guys who are doing whatever. Because if we talk about it, we get so frustrated, but we're not going to do anything about it. So we still end up to zero, and these guys will continue milking the country, which is so sad. I'm disappointed. I'm hurt, man. I'm hurt. I'm really hurt. Yeah, that's my submission. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much, Charles. Many people are deeply hurt, my friend. And, we are all having and sharing a very somber mood. Knowing the reality, of the hospital care in Zimbabwe, the professors and the lecturers at universities getting USD 250 per month, and pregnant Zimbabwean women being humiliated in South Africa, and South Africa itself demonstrating its care for its citizens, by flying an aeroplane to pick up a sick South African from Zimbabwe. It was merely just to poke their noses into our faces, honestly, just a show off, really, of what it means to have a country that is better. And we as Zimbabweans continue to hope against hope, and encourage those who are in the government to listen up and perhaps change their ways. This country needs to be better, because it can be better. It is a shame what we see happening in our country. Stop the corruption, stop nepotism, stop disrespecting fellow Black citizens, stop stealing from our government. Let our government be better. Remember that it is by far better to build a country than to build one individual who is going to leave everything anyway when they die. No one is going to live forever. So they will leave everything. So it becomes necessary for those who are in our government to understand that there is a time to stop. Martin, stop that. Stop that, Martin. Don't do it that way. I'll be dropping you again because of that. Okay, so Martin, don't do that. And all right, so let's move to Ngobani again. So Ngobani, you wrote an entire paper on these issues about Mr. Kudakwashe Tagire. Well, if we look at the politics of it, do you think that Comrade Geza, had the right message today? Because we are just concluding now, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for joining Zimai and for joining me, Hulu at Pachiso Live, and following us together with Sister Comfort Dondo, as you can see. And thank you for that, because we will continue to be giving you information as it happens from the four corners of our country, Zimbabwe. Almost at 10:30 now in Harare. Same also in the city of Bulawayo. So, well, Ron Pless, welcome to the space. So, Nobani, here we are, my friend. You have been writing on these issues.
Can I please jump in?
Please go ahead.
Can I please jump in?
No, it's for Nobani now. We'll be coming to you shortly.
There's a reason why I'm asking.
Yeah, there's also a reason why I'm asking Nobani to come up for now, because you.
I'm not debating with you. It's either you say no, then I close my mouth.
Yes, no, Comrade Signoro.
Thank you.
And Nobani,
Thank
go
you
ahead.
in my leadership.
Okay, thank you very much, Hulu. Yeah, ever since I think it's 2 weeks ago when Geza started mentioning the name Kutakwashe Takwire, he has been going in the right direction. And there's a few other names that he has been, I don't know whether he's afraid of them, like John Mankuja is a really, really big player who's the biggest enabler of Takwire. These days I've been telling people that the problem that we have in Zimbabwe is a problem of bankers. if you take a look at these so-called Ziganandas, they've got one common background. They're all bankers. Whether it's Takwire is coming from CPZ, or it's Kruger Matanga from Barclays, or it's John Mangoja from the Reserve Bank, or it's Ntule from Barbican. What we have is a classic case of bankers. It's been happening throughout history in many countries where bankers try or attempt to take control of the financial sector in a country, and politics in order to siphon resources from everybody else. So he's in the right direction. So I want on Willie to get some finer details concerning what Geza was talking about. I'm sure some of you heard that's referring to something called GDI. GDI. Well, it's a mine that was owned by the Zimbabwe military. Mutakwasha acquired that Great Dyke investment, which was owned by the Zimbabwean military, worth 220 million in 2019. He only paid 11 million. So that's why, guys, I was saying, my mind, uma soldier, agabiwa. So that the $220 million mine owned by the Zimbabwe military, Kutakwasha just paid 11 million and nothing else. So that's why the soldiers are angry. So could have also got bought Shamba Gold for 40 million. He also bought from the Zimbabwe Mining Development Corporation 4 mines for around 14 million. He bought Pindura Nickel and Fred Rebecca for 21 million, Zim Alloys for 12 million, and 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 all of these mines he was acquiring. He was acquiring through a Zimbabwean company called Landela, right? So Kotakwashe has been trying to hide his name. So he's been doing these shady dealings, but he's been trying to hide. So this Zimbabwean company was owned by a Mauritius-based company called Sotic International. This Sotic International company was owned by a trust fund called the Lighthouse Fund, the Lighthouse Trust, which was owned by a white person, a white South African called Christopher Fear. Anyway, all these things are just fakes. Kutakwashe is the owner of everything. Christopher Ferrer and all the other South Africans that were owning things on his behalf, they were just his runners because as a politically exposed person, Kutakwashe was hiding himself, his identity. So the real thing that they were doing when they were buying these mines, they were not buying for the purpose of doing business. No, they were buying for the sake of owning an asset, right, at a certain value, and then they look for a dumb buyer, which is the Zimbabwean government, because our government is dumb. So the government they created. So the government created something called Mutapa Investment Fund. That investment fund is ought to be buying assets at a lower price, let them grow and sell them at a higher price at a profit. That's what all investment funds do. But this one is buying cheap assets, the assets worth 200 to 300 million at excessively high prices. So that is what Kuvimba Mining did. Another key important thing to know is that this Kuvimba Mining house, right, owned 65%, as we said, and the 35% was owned by a company called Fimpi Resources. Now, this company called Fimpi Resources is directed by Takure and his wife. And the shareholders are the Kuta Kwashe Takure Trust and another trust called the Eagles Trust. We suspect that the Eagles Trust owners, which are unknown, is probably Idim Nangagwa and John Manguja and some of the hidden Ziganandas who do not want to be known. Because these people, the way that they operate in Zimbabwe is that they have got these shell companies whose owners are not known. So every time you hear of a shell company and the ownership is not known, oh, we already know. It's Mnangagwa, John Manguja, Kuta, and all of these Ziganandas. So it is key to note that the 1.6 billion that was paid to Fimpi Resources went to Kutakwashe and the Eagles Trust. And there is some evidence that point to John Mankucha as the owner of Fimpi Resources as well. So John Mankucha here had a conflict of interest as the CEO of Mutapa Investment Fund. He was selling himself to himself because he is also shareholder of Fimpi Resources. Can you imagine? You are the shareholder of Fimpi selling to a company that you are the CEO of. You understand the conflict of interest. John Mankucha, as CEO, was selling, sorry, as CEO, he was buying from himself at excessive high prices. So the whole thing is it's a loophole whereby they just go around, collect crappy, do some crappy deals, just get assets that are worth nothing. And then through Mutapa Investment Fund, Mutapa buys it at a very highly inflated prices. I won't be surprised if next year this same Mutapa the investment funds, sells the very same mining companies to Kutakwashe for 100 million. The same ones that they bought for 1.6 billion, they can sell for 100 million to Kutakwashe. Only for Kutakwashe in 3 years later to sell back again to this Mutapa investment fund for 2 billion. So this is a cycle. This is how they are laundering our money. This is how they are stealing the money from the government. So that Mutapa investment fund is a huge fraud. There's no investment there being done. It's just thievery. And the biggest thief is I want Geza to say his name. His name is called John Mankutka. He's the biggest, is Gananda of them all. He is being enabled by Emerson Mnangagwa because Mnangagwa is the one that they use. And also this 2030 agenda. It's not an agenda of Emerson Mnangagwa. People in Zimbabwe are made to believe that Mnangagwa wants a dynasty. No, I have uncovered that. It's not. Mnangagwa doesn't want a dynasty. It's Kutakwashe and the bankers who want a president who is incapacitated so that they can carry on looting the country's resources as long as there's a president that that will not hold them accountable. They fear General Chiwenga because General Chiwenga doesn't have dimension. And they don't mind the second vice president, what's his name? Uyu, second vice president. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
Colonel
Kembo Mahati. So you see, Kembo Mahati and Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa doesn't know anything what's going on in the country, doesn't even know about soccer stadiums, about trains, about a lot of things. So these bankers thrive in an environment where the presidency has got incapacitated personnel. Hence, they want ED 2030 and ED forever. It's not ED Mnangagwa, Namai Mnangagwa, or Sean Mnangagwa who want that. They just sell the propaganda for you to think that that's what ZANU PF wants. ZANU PF can put anybody in ZANU. ZANU doesn't care whether it's whoever, as long as the person is ZANU PF. So the whole idea of 2030 is really bankrolled by the bankers. So our biggest enemy, Hulu, in Zimbabwe is the bankers. Let's be clear. Let's not just call it ZANU PF because even ZANU PF itself is a victim of the bankers. That is why you see Geza as an OPF member coming up against these Canadians. It solves this mystery. When people say, how can ZANU-PF go out to remove ZANU-PF? How can Geza ping ZANU-PF, remove ZANU-PF? It is because the bankers are not ZANU-PF. The bankers are using the organization of ZANU-PF. So Geza and the military generals, they just wake up now. They're like, we have been scammed by these bankers. And then now they are coming out with strategies like using Geza. But they really don't want to come out and call these people what they are. These people are bankers. They're not just the ordinary Canadians. They are bankers. So we are seeing a battle between the bankers and the politicians on one side together with the military. The military, they've got the guns and the bullets, but the Canadians have got the billions and God damn it, they've got brains. They are brainy people, they are brilliant. But thank God we're more brilliant than them. We can uncover all the lies and all the schemes that they are plotting. So I'm still on it.
All right.
Yeah. I'm always watching this.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, Ngobani. As we are winding down, ladies and gentlemen, I did mention that it's 60 seconds. And Ron Plus, welcome to the space. We'll be having you shortly after Brother Signoro. And so, Brother Senior, you go first, and then we go to Sister Ron Plus. Go ahead.
Revolutionary greetings. I greeted you by default. There's no time for jokes. There's no time to greet each other. Yesterday, I was being attacked left, right, center on Hulu Space. So what's going on is we are on a cyber attack, guys. Those who noticed, I kept raising my hand, and someone was removing it, removing it. Those who are suffering, hold on. It's not about. It's not about you. Hold on. Don't disturb. It's very important to Zimbabwe. Those who are suffering, that you may have a network glitch, but you don't always think that. Set up your systems. You'll find out we are under attack. Serious attack. Now, there are two things. I'll put it this way: if I had remained in Zimbabwe, it's either I would be part of the cabal or I would be dead. Simple. Fast forward, these spaces are contaminated, right? It's either they are contaminated or we are suffering from the disease. Two things, whether we like it or not, it's either we are captured, we're all fake here, or we are suffering from a brain disease. Our system is not functional. And the reason why it's not really important, maybe it's because we've suffered for a long time. It cannot be anything other than that. Get a consultant, an independent, he'll tell you exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's either that limbic brain breakdown system is broken down, or we are captured. Now, my sister Comfort, I wrote to you in your DM, who is Sandra Mpunga? I also wrote, who is Tendai Tagwire advisor? So crying hard, bitterly, seeing people dealing with symptoms, not wanting to listen to the voice. I'm not speaking on behalf of myself. I'm speaking on behalf of that they are coming now. And I'm seeing the same trend. When people come here trying to fight for Zimbabwe, they are silenced. We have got the Ziskostil saga. We have got the Ezim saga. I've been thinking, maybe we've got about 1,000 since forgotten. Charles speaks of action that speaks to, doing something, at least doing something. I'll tell you why I'm saying it's either we are captured. Charles, listen very carefully. We were on a space. I said, wow, who is this guy, Charles? Somebody with a discussion, and I want to be honest there. Within maybe 5 minutes is too much. They created a page in a bid to say, let's get people to submit so that we have a case. And we, in that space, those who were there, you remember, we were saying, everybody, you must say, Amandla, power to the people. Amandla, power to the people. I'm not exaggerating. It's 3 months ago. It died a natural death. It was a project that you're speaking to. Whether we like it or not, anyone who is old enough to be a product of Rhodesia like me will understand that song. We must stop that. Who is George Guamatanga? Mamuzu Anaska, Stamzu Bank Teller, the first MD Which we're Barclays Bank. Why am I going with all this? We are dealing with symptoms. Geza, which is the topic. Guys, listen to me very carefully. We are dealing with the two old men who are tired. They are all on dementia. And I love Geza, but I'm being factual at the same time.
You have 30 seconds.
Before 30 seconds, you will drop me. This is very important. We are sick in the head, expecting that Geza to crawl, to come and bail us out. How many more signals are we waiting for? We are dealing with an old man who has lost his mind, who has been also captured by his family and wife and Jigananda, which was said here. We are dealing with symptoms. Are we for real? Why do we entice? Why do you provoke us? You people hold spaces. If you have no time to hear the story of Zimbabwe, if you have no time to afford the people of Zimbabwe to know exactly what is happening, so that they get really angry.
For a while, Brother Signoro.
So that they get really angry. Look, I'll surprise you. I want to shut my mouth right now. But let me tell you something. No one can stop reggae. I'm telling you this. We are going to have a fight here on the spaces, and I'll be folding my hands away. Borombo says, when I fight hard, trying to fight for African rights, I use one hand. The other hand is busy keeping away fellow brothers and sisters, Zimbabweans, Africans. You know, this is exactly what's happening. Senior has revised it. Each time I try to open people's eyes, fight people, and I'm speaking for the voiceless, get me right. I use one hand because the other hand is busy keeping away people. But let me tell you something, as I learned. Zimbabwe Chaitora. And on Chaitora, I'm wearing a 16-year-old shoe. And I'm provoking you, the youth of today. You must take lead on these spaces. Start with me. I've confessed and I've apologized. Not enough, I've let you guys down. You should take charge today, now. Today, now. Now is now. You need to start holding spaces and we'll come in and then you question us, you probe us, we feed you, we advise you if we can advise you. It is not a one-man band. It is not a one-day event. It is a lifetime event, and victory is certainly guaranteed. My sincere apology if I did anything wrong, but we have not started. We are going to, if we have a real fight, start from these spaces downstream, because the war has been declared by none other than Emerson Mnangagwa. Go and attack them. We are ready for that. Many thanks.
Okay, thank you. Sister Ron Place, go ahead.
Thank you, host, for the opportunity. I'm going to be direct to the point and very brief. Unfortunately, I came a little bit late, so I have to listen to the recording. By the time I came in, I think the first speaker raised a very good point about us as citizens approaching the police and having them deal with what we put in front of them and see what happens. I am about action. I think this is a brilliant discussion, sharp minds, and honestly, it makes me cry when I hear people talking about what is happening at home. It's sickening. But I've heard many people as well in the past 3 or so weeks, they say, what action are we taking? What action can we take? I'm wondering if maybe I missed something. What can we do? I know most of us don't live within Zimbabwe, but maybe if we lived in Zimbabwe, there's very little that we could do, because we could be like blasted, thrown into jail, or beaten up by the same police. So what can we do? And can we set, say, timeframes for ourselves? Because if we let this slip through, we will have another 45 years in a crime scene, and it will be worse by then. So for me, the first suggestion I had, I think it's brilliant, organizing to take up this with the police. I think we now need the modalities. Who is going to run this? How can we move forward with it? My point is, do we have access or a place where we can trace the transactions, especially those that are going to international companies, international countries, into other countries? Those countries and those people that live in outside Zimbabwe, they owe us our money. And I think there could be an international platform where we could take up these cases. What do we want to do? Ladies and gentlemen, please help me. I'm so egged that I think people should know that we don't just sit and talk about things and let them pass. These people will not stop cheating us. They will not. So can we have a session where we talk about what we can do? Obviously, some people were mentioning the obvious conflict of interest that we have seen. The Mtapa things, there is no arm's length relationship between where the money is borrowed, where it's going, and the loophole. It's insane to have someone that is connected to the Reserve Bank orchestrate a scenario whereby these guys, Takwire, ED, and whoever, borrow money from the country. And then after a year or so, they sell whatever organization they grabbed from the government. I don't understand how all of a sudden we have these organizations being, the people tell us, oh, they were not performing well. Zisco still pains me. There is no year where I ever heard that Zisco still was not performing well. I've never heard of that. So if all of a sudden it underperforms and I hear this guy Takwire is now the largest shareholder, why the same people with these organizations that were formerly owned by government? Something is wrong here. Why are we letting it go? So guys, could we help each other and come up with what actions do we take and when?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ron, thank you very much, Sister Ron Bless. The action is actually part of what others are saying, what Comrade Bombshell is doing right now, raising
Sorry, Ulu,
the
I want to give an answer to the sister who just said.
No, the time now,
It won't kill
unfortunately,
you.
because
It won't kill you. A minute is too much. We need to provoke. Let's hit the dog and not the owner. We need to provoke the clearing houses. Starting with South Africa, it's grey listed because of dirty transactions. It is that simple, straightforward. They are known clearing houses. They report somewhere, and simply provoke them that you are the reason why Zimbabwe is down. You are closing one eye and opening the other, fueling money laundering from Zimbabwe world over. I don't have to.
All right. Patawe FM, you have been hanging on for a bit. This is your chance. And then we go to Mimi and then Emmanuel, and then we are done. All right. Patawe FM. Patawe FM, are you there? Okay, Mimi, welcome to the space. Good to see you.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Zimai. Hi, Simba. Hi, Hulu. Hi, Signor. Signor Warquita empower my youth for the past 20 years. Dololo, Signor. Muri talk show. But interesting talk show all the same.
Go and tell ED you cannot come here. You're economic desk. We know you guys. You don't have to joke. Zimbabwe is bleeding, and I'm done with you. Not only you, many of you. That's why I said,
but
guys, here,
Senor,
takapindwa kudhara before President Mnangagwa said in Rakasha. This formation was done maybe 5 years before he made an announcement. So you're not hiding, guys. So my boy, carry on.
so in the Senor, in the
We have lost.
pane po
Okay.
yanga yapinda saka inini ningirikini ndiri kuti imimika matambiswa nhova nageza shuwa vari makuru imimi. Some of what Geza is saying has got merit, but it doesn't come as a surprise. But ningirikini nyaya iripo apa vaka tangai mapedza nuclear level, deal with how you culturally think. You can't even fix suwa iri kubuda pamba penyu and muda kufunga kuti munoningirikina mune zvamunokwanisa kuzoita. So so nyaya yekuti munenge muchifunga kuti munogadzirisa muri pakeyboard haishandi. Handisi kuti tai uprising iri kulidwa naGeza akawanda. There's so much that's going on, you know, at a nuclear level. I'm seeing things moving, but there's impediments that are in place: bad governance, corruption, and sanctions. I mean, are not sanctions dzakapera. Sanctions inini handisandaona kupera kwayo. Zidera Act is still in play. So and at the moment UK iri kunyenga Zimbabwe kuti ilute zvekare to import things at a song for a song. To not back up the wrong tree, in my view. There's just so much to be dealt with. My formal, let's deal with formal businesses. Who is benefiting nengirikini inonzichi the minerals, extractive industry iri kubenefita ani? How much? Those of you that follow Joseph Kalimbwe, he's been putting stats that matter out. If you look at what he's been posting for the past 3 weeks, I would say I've just noticed kuti munhu uyu akachinja maitiro, akutotaura semu pan-African chaichaio, kuti the things that are extracted in DRC, in Zambia, in Kenya, handisandaona mastats eZimbabwe, but we've always known kuti we are being exploited. Saka zvamuri kuchemera ka zvakangofanana nekuenda kuLancaster House moti hondo yapera, moti tahwina hondo, motorerwa land futi in 2013 makuisa muconstitution kuti muri kubhadhara futi land iyoyo. Saka chabuda chi? Saka zvamuri kuita zveku 1 minute zvekutambiswa nhova naGeza, nekuti Geza ati ari kuda kudyawo ka, ndo pandakanyanya kubata ipapapa. And ari kupopota kuti mamugonewo joina wana professor, you know, and he's got no identity, no ideology, nothing. Zimbabwe is a one-party state. Dai military yacho yatomboita sei? Dai military yatombomira, yatombogadzirisa marodhi, yambogadzirisa zvipatara, yambogadzirisa the basics. Iyi nyika yese yango flea market. Ukangoenda pakona apa munhu ari kutengesa. In a way it's good, because comparing with the 5 years ago, things are affordable in Zimbabwe for those that have the money, but the earning power is also less. Because 5-6
All
years
right.
ago it was civil servant aipuwa 500. There's no civil servant ari kuearn less, but commodities and services are accessible and people are developing at a personal level, but we need more. Saka musaita hasha dzenhando, relaxai
All
naGeza
right.
wenyu.
Geza umugone we Mimi. All right, it's fine. Let's go to is it Emmanuel? Just 60 seconds, please, and then we go to Sabuku Dobbs. Guys, we cannot accept any more requests, unfortunately, for those that are requesting, because we closing down and we will be running again in future, and we can have more discussion. So, Emmanuel, 60 seconds. Try to package it
Okay.
that way. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. The problem with our countries, we are actually having a challenge in making sure that all avenues operate with the transparency in terms of financial issues. I heard what Geza said. I can actually see that information he was giving us is coming from the office, from something that is from the hand that has been feeding him. But can we say what he said? If we are to analyze what he said, you can actually realize that Zimbabweans do have got a challenge. We are educated, but the way we address the issue of finance, we are also having a problem. Look, we have got a professor as the Minister of Finance, but look what the currency is doing. Everything is going haywire, but we have got a professor. So the challenge with Zimbabwe is financial literacy. I think our curriculum, the curriculum of Zimbabwe needs to be adjusted. Yeah, thank you for that.
All right, thank you very much, Emmanuel. Short and sweet. Sabuku Dobbs from Shirezi, welcome to the space. Sabuku, you have come very, very late whilst we are about to close. We would have wished to hear more from you, but because you have come so late, Sabuku, you just have to package it again also in 60 seconds. So what is your take when it comes to the Ghanaians? I mean, now, becoming more richer than Strive Masiwa without putting up the effort. What is your take on that?
Yeah, many thanks. I think the really take is for us to address it, but we can't address if we call Gananda a professor or a Medara honorable, because some people refer to Skosa Kwanya as honorable, and they still refer to Mutuli Mube as professor, yet is Chigananda. They should be just be addressed like that. Then you can then have the zeal to address what they are doing, because you know what they are. To say this is a Chigananda and this is a Medara. I'm now dealing with a Medara, not an honorable member of parliament. That is the starting point. Then going forward, apana kuitiswa kwamuri kuitwa naGeza, muri kutoitiswa mukada kuteerera zvikuda ED. I think Ngovani was on point blank to say even those ones who think that they are still in ZANU-PF, vari kutoitiswa kuZANU-PF kwacho. And Geza is one of them. And even there are so many people who even now, for those who were in ZANU-PF, to tell us to say, is the Polity Bureau still existing, or the Central Committee still existing, or it is just working with those who wanted to deal with his agenda? I think we'll come up with the answer. So going on forward, method are there, and we have been using them. That is Zimbabwe is where we are, is where it is today, because we used several methods to expose what is happening behind the scene. But those are some of the things which cannot be discussed on the open space like this, because there are some who pretended to be members of Central Idios Organization, CIO. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Sabuku Dobbs from Shirezi, and for everybody that has participated and our audience, we want to truly appreciate you, and thank you for joining and following Zimai. Thank you for joining and following me, Hulu at Pachiso Live, and Sister Comfort Dondo. And we will continue to be coming up here to share information pertaining to our country. And we hope that even our government officials may also be able to answer to these issues, because look, this is about a government that came to power through the vote. Actually, a government that came to power through the barrel of the gun, freedom fighting, fighting against British colonialism. And we had to get 1980 with a promise of a free, prosperous, and independent Zimbabwe. Surely, a free, prosperous, and independent Zimbabwe cannot be achieved when government officials have become the elite and the chefs, where they have got no interaction whatsoever with those that voted for them, in inverted commas. Simba Chikanza, Simba, I thank you very much for being there, holding the fort as the host. Over to you.
Ulu, are you really closing? Is it
Yes,
you mean Simba is gonna close and we go away? Because we need to submit finally, man, to say, you know what, thank you so much, guys. By the way, us now, Yaro, Anthony Ulu. Lastly, what I'm gonna say, if you allow me, is we are still dealing with these issues in an amicable way, because we are still coming together, discuss, trying to find ways, trying to uh, to help each other understand what's going on, and we are actually arming ourselves, which is a good thing. But as I always say, Olu, I think the time shall come, and it's not long. It's not far away now, where we will need to keep quiet. We will no longer be talking. We will need to put our words into action. So thanks so much, man. Thank you so much, and take care.
Thank you,
I also
comrade.
want
Thank you, my
to
friend.
thank the
Zimai, are
organizers
you there?
because of the
Zimai?
limited time and resources. I
Yep, absolutely.
advocate
I'm
for
here. Thank you.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, brother senior,
We
we,
wanted
we
to.
have come to the end of
I
the
don't
space,
understand how you
and we are
interrupt
handing
me for
over.
thanking someone.
We are
Who
handing
I
over to the
honestly
host. Simba, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Signor, and thank you for your understanding, Signor. Your contributions are always valued.
sorry, Simba.
No,
I was
if I could,
interrupted thinking.
yeah, I wanted to finish. Comrade Signor. Yeah, so just wanted to thank you, and your comments are always valued all the time. That you come into these spaces, you always add the flavor, and we are grateful for that, and we're also grateful to all the speakers who have spoken today. Thank you to Ngobani. I was writing notes while you were speaking. Please let's talk at
Thank you.
inbox. Let's share numbers if we can, Ngobani, because I think the contributions you're making there, we need to turn that into a few articles here and there, and I've already started doing that. I think you more notice I was tagging you using the Zimai official Twitter account. And it's quite refreshing when we find Zimbabweans who study, who go into detail. There was one space where one Zimbabwean came up. I think you remember Hulu, who narrated how he has been downloading Hopochungono's tweets, analyzing them, doing data analysis, like literally detailed. And with online tools now, artificial intelligence and software, with the mouse click within minutes, you can actually download a person's entire tweets, all of them. And you can study the entire communication, you study patterns, you study their messaging, you study their entire character. You can do a whole compilation of a dossier of your cell phone these days. But we have not seen many Zimbabweans doing it. But when we now see people like Bovani and others coming up, it is refreshing, and I'm hoping that we can have more people like that who are detailed. This is how we can protect our country. America is in a mess today because of this failure. I said it before, and today it is happening. Things are just going all over the place. I don't want to mention names. I think you can now see even a country like the great United States can crumble overnight when its citizens are not students, are not studying, are not protecting, are not playing their role to police, to self police their community. Yeah, like a neighbor would watch, like a vanguard of your own country. So I'm hoping that we'll have more people like that. And on this space next time, when we hold the space like this, we need to have, if we can have the kind of detail that Ngobani was making there, I will definitely share with Geza these kind of contributions. They're important so that these war veterans, when they're making their statements, their statements have got detail. And I think what the war veterans are should just be really there to read statements. It's you, the citizens, who must compile these statements and give them. I'm hoping that there will be Zimbabweans who write. If you put up a statement, I will be ready to submit like a whole statement that you want Geza to touch on this, touch on that, and that, and that, and that. I will be willing to hand over it even to Geza for consideration. And I have insisted that is how Comrade Geza and all the others must operate. It must be a people's project. It mustn't be a Geza project. What if Geza wakes up tomorrow morning and he's coughing or he's got a flu? Come on. The role to fix the country must be everyone's role. And it's not a military role. It's not a ZANU-PF thing. It's not so and so's thing. It should be everyone's everyone's duty to do that. And from that, we will be able to have a healthy community. Folks, it's not difficult, I think people have seen, to destroy a country. It's also not difficult to build it when people make a determination. And we've created this space. We'll be creating more spaces in the future. We're also creating a whole group, WhatsApp group, and also Facebook group. People, if we can have academics there and people who are always eyes all over. I sometimes call it an army of eyes, army, military, emaziso, all over the place. Lastly, as I conclude, to those who read the world's first newspaper, the planet's first newspaper, the Bible. There is a scripture in Revelations that talks about some creatures that were found in Revelations. And when I used to read that scripture when I was a kid, it used to scare me all the time. When this writer claims that he saw some creatures that had eyes all over, eyes all over. Imagine a creature. What type of a creature is that? Maziso kweso, kunongochingotariso. To turn this way. If you want to steal something, if you want to do something, eyes all over. I think we'll be a powerful community if we have eyes all over, folks. Eyes all over, an army
The
of
Bible
eyes.
was
I
writing
think
about
that's what.
the internet. The Bible was writing about the
Sorry,
internet, but they couldn't say it.
sorry.
They were writing about the internet, the prophets of the 2000
Right,
years ago. They couldn't say the internet because they
right,
didn't know what it was. So God showed them a creature with
right.
eyes all over.
Right. Oh yeah. Now this is huge, folks. It's quite interesting. It's some of the things that you find in that book are weird, like discovering that the chariot that had fire underneath that Elijah shot up to heaven was actually a spacecraft. you know, there were actually spacecrafts back then.
Yes, yes,
It's just that they would just call it a chariot of fire. It's interesting. And
that's
then there's
true.
also one I think I noticed in Habakkuk. There's a one that said, I saw a flying scroll. And then if you check the dimensions of the flying scroll, it's the exact dimensions of these satellites that NASA and Elon Musk are shooting into the sky to disseminate information, to monitor the Earth. I mean, it's weird. And the thing is, what this practically demonstrates, folks, is that we need to be students of. But this is the greatest. Let me end with this last note. Right. The greatest discovery that I have made myself recently from just checking here and there, after spending 20 years out in Europe away from home, is that contrary to the claim that the whites, the Cecil John Rhodes and his preachers came with the Bible to Africa. Africa actually had the Bible. Actually have got the oldest Bible manuscript, the most intact Bible that is 500 years older than the King James Bible. Come on, folks. Isn't that weird? Isn't that refreshing? That maybe the reason why we are here, where our continent is being looted, and simply because we're not been studying our heritage, we're stuck to these folk tales that tell us, oh, you know what? We used to pray to this thing. We didn't have a writing language and all that nonsense. Chili nonsense. And yet you can see architecture all over, scattered all over Zimbabwe. Architecture that if you just copy paste that architecture today, you can build massive infrastructure. As architectures, structures that were built over 1,000 years ago. Folks, this should tell us that we are the original. Oh, by the way, lastly, someone also showed me some pictures of the Ark of the Covenant, the very Ark that the dimensions, everything, right here in Zimbabwe with the Lemba tribe. Come on, folks, what does that tell us? Maybe, folks, maybe we're actually that supreme. And someone also showed me, Black Technocrat, he researches a lot about the pharaohs, showed me pictures of the day when Herbert Chitepo was buried over 50 years ago, and the pictures there show you the dressing of the people who were burying Herbert Chitepo, the headscarves. Are not this nonsense that he is doing. The headscarves are the ones that the pharaohs, the original pharaohs, if you go into the pyramids, you see that's what they're wearing. Come on, folks. When you see Mandla Mandela, the chiefs in South Africa, the type of dressing, you go into inside the pyramids, it's exactly the same dressing. Come on, we're probably the real pharaohs here. We were displaced from the north, right, by the Arabs who took over Egypt. We're a great civilization, folks. I was saying the other time, even Elon Musk, he became the richest man in the world. His father says so. My son, we were together in Zimbabwe stealing stones from an unregistered mine, and I was sending Elon and his brothers to New York with these stones, emeralds, okay, from an unregistered mine, until he became the richest man in the world. Come on, folks. This is Zimbabwe, folks. This ain't South Africa. This is not Kenya. This is Zimbabwe, folks. We're a big community, and maybe what we're missing is just a student culture. A student culture. Like what Hulu does. Sometimes Hulu is also another guy. The way Hulu thinks, it's weird. But maybe this is what we need as a community. And if we do this, we could fix all this nonsense. In a matter of days. Comfort, did you want to conclude? I'll give you the honor to conclude and shut the space.
Thank you so much, Simba. Thank you, Zimbabweans. One of the things I love and I will stay in this space is you, Simba, and Mkoma Hulu, among other brothers here. I think my brother Ndini is gone, but I think you mentioned the Lemba Pride. The Lemba tribe. I'm actually from the Lemba tribe. And you asked about what we need. I wrote an article about what Zimbabwe needs. I was happy to see my sister, my boy, coming to the podium and speak. Other sisters, we didn't have enough. I think there's another sister who spoke. I think Professor Ferris would try to come. Sometimes we have our fights and our disagreements. But for me, as I conclude, I want to say I love Zimbabweans. I am in the middle of California. I should not even be here. I should be enjoying the ocean, but my heart is in Zimbabwe. When I'm here, this is better than the ocean. This is better than doing any other activity because Zimbabwe is home. But I think Zimbabwe, when you ask about what we need, I noticed something. I noticed that men have disproportionately taken space, or even on this space, right? I think the few sisters who spoke, my boy and another sister, and maybe less than 3 sisters spoke. And I think sometimes we have to pause as a people and ask, what have we done? What have we done that has led us to this place? That is, we've excluded women. And we've only put women in places to speak and rebuild with their tokens, where they're sexualized. We know that is happening right now in our country. Overly a sexualization of younger women. I'm talking about women who are going to mother Zimbabwe back to her health. I really, really want to emphasize on that. Zimbabwe is going to need mothering back. Not just any other woman, But some of the women who are in this space, I see my sister Pelagia is here. They are sisters I have never heard their voice here. I even sent a mic to some sisters here. Because Simba, you know what? Women are creators. And if we go back to the Lemba tribe, and if we go back to the ways of our ancestors, and we go back to who brought liberation to Zimbabwe, Mzukuru wa Namfakose, Nyakasikana, who I have a really deep connection with, we have to understand. We have to understand that women are going to play a pivotal role in the nurturing back of our country. As long as we're going to have 90% of men speaking at us, naturally, the feminine energy says, don't overpower your masculine, don't overpower your men, don't overpower your kings. So we shut down. So I hope, Simba, as we do these spaces, as we continue into the new Zimbabwe that we want, we're going to actually say we are stepping back as men, and we want to give more women time. Give us the permission to lead. Give us the permission to share. And I'm not speaking to you, Hulu, Nkoma Hulu, Mwanaume or Simba. I'm talking to just the generality, because I know this space already has over 12,000 engagements. Right? I want my Zimbabwean brothers to hear this, that we're going to need female leadership.
We actually have got a total 5,800 live right now.
Awesome. Plus the 12,000 on Twitter. So we're talking about over 20,000, right? So I want you to hear the sound of my voice when I say it's going to take women. It's going to take women, not women taking over, but women as the neck of the heads and turning those heads where they need to be, because our men have failed us dismally, with all due respect. And so Salani just came in. I think, I don't care about partisanship. I care about the woman part of us. I care about the fact that we are birthers. We give birth, and mothering, nurturing, that piece is missing. There's too much masculinity. And in ending, I'll say why there's too much masculinity is numbers. When I hear about $1 billion, I think about health and wellness infrastructure. How much $1 billion? Just $1 billion, just $1 billion, because I had a couple of billions. Education reform. If I was getting some of the money Gananda have access to, I would make sure there's free primary education, secondary education for our children, modernizing our schools with proper facilities, with proper AI, with proper modern digital learning tools for our kids. Make sure that there's agriculture, food security. Zimbabwe is so endowed with, with rich soils. Here in the States, I have to actually buy dirt from the store. Empower women farmers, empower all farmers, create food banks, Mageto, create food banks, and also create feeding programs, also create local, gardening projects, job creation, youth innovation with $1 billion, national healing governance reform, community healing programs that are needed so much for our youth. $1 billion, just $1 billion. It is nothing. It is nothing. It is all cars to Chifai, right? It is all cars. It's nothing without trust. But I think if we put women in the center, and I'm not talking about any other woman, I'm talking about women who have a mothering heart. $1 billion could literally revive our country in a jiffy. So I just wanted to say those words. I think those are my parting words. I hope Simba Mkoma Hulu in our next space, we're going to be intentional about allowing space for women, for mothers to speak, because I think a lot of my sisters here, they crawl back into their shells because there's an overpowering. And I don't disrespect men by any chance, but I just want to introduce that as a way that we move forward so we can do things differently, because we know better now. And we know better, we will do better. And I think that's my sentiments. And thank you so much. This was a beautiful space. Mkoma, and then I'll end with saying Mkoma Ngobani. I think I really want to safeguard you and be protected. I don't know which part of the world you're in. You don't have to disclose. These are the kind of minds. Asiri Pamtoriro, right? The minds are not
Oh, we
mafunza.
need this. We need this to fix our
We
country,
need,
folks. That's
yeah,
right, again.
we need this kind of thought leaders, and that's why I think systematically we have our young people being fed drugs by some of these Rene, because they don't want our young people to think. They don't want our young people to actually be angry and be sober. And so keep your sobriety and keep your protection. I pray for your protection, Komangobani. Please connect with Simba, because we need your thought leadership. We need that. Yeah. Nkomahulu, thank you so much for holding space always in such a most beautiful space, beautiful way. And to everyone, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll yield my mic for now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're supposed to close the space. And taxi driver wanted to come in. Taxi driver, tatoba taxi, tato manyana, tatotiza nayo.
Go come and take that over.
Right. Salani, apologies, Andradzi. Kumazoya tapedza musangano say. Right. I think please try to come in early next time. It would have been nice to have different voices. Thank you, my boy, for coming. It was lovely to hear your voice as well, and great to meet you one of those days at Buckingham Palace that day. Right.
Wakuda kuburitsa masecret ekwatinozangana
Right. Right, folks. Folks, thank you very much. Let's speak soon. Let's catch up, and let's love our country, and let's change the way we do things. Right? Stop following daddy characters and start studying. Okay? Right. Thank you. To our great audience here, we've got 5,500 people
muchiri
on
kurwa
on video. Let me end, please. Right. So those who are on video, thank you very much. Those who are live right now, right. We will ask you next time. Come on Twitter Space. There's so many of you who are on video. If you're on Twitter Space, on this space here, you would have had an opportunity to speak, but you just be there, sat there, just listening, which doesn't really help if you see how we have covered so far. Yeah, just because there are people inside who are contributing, it's astounding, and your contributions can help. So next time, don't sit in the video area. Whenever you see a video, go on Twitter, look for Zimai. Again, go on Twitter, look for Zimai, and go onto the space, because we run these broadcasts parallel. Come onto the space and then join in and say something, contribute something. You are rich. You can fix the country even on this very space. We fixed Zambia on this broadcast. I mean, I say it boldly because it actually happened on 13 August 2021. A single phone call on a broadcast changed the course of the direction and the future of Zambians. And it was because of contributions that people were calling in, and they were advising us. Lawyers were telling us, when you're talking to a president, ask this type of question, say it this way. These are the acts of law that you have to follow. And you know what? We spent years since the 1 August shootings in 2018 studying until one day, just a single sentence, sounding it out to a sitting president of Zambia at the time, Edgar Lungu, while in the heat of the moment where he was about to offload gunshots on civilians, and he had already shut the internet. That was enough to embarrass him and help push him out of power. You can see the live broadcast. It's there. So these spaces are powerful, folks. This shouldn't be a place where we just meet. Tongo Taura, Zingori, here and there. Just, this is about life. We, when we are in this type of gathering, we can fix countries, and we have fixed countries. I talked about Zambia, even Malawi, to remove Mutarika. I was on these broadcasts with Moses Kinku. You can check my interview when Moses Kinku was living in the UK before he was information minister in Malawi. We're putting all these ideas on broadcast. Okay, this is how we do it. This is how, and from Norway, look at Malawi today. You might not like Mutarika, but Hulu mentioned it the other time. The infrastructure, folks. things have changed. Yes, he might not be the best, but there has been some movement. You can tell that between Malawi and Zimbabwe in terms of movement, there has been progress. Zambia, come on, there's massive progress there. There's now free education. Things have totally changed. I mean, their lives have all of a sudden overnight. And it's all because of this news networks community, you and I coming together here, exchanging ideas that are focused on fixing a country, not being fixated on characters or daddy characters or mummy characters on social media, but really, really glued to fixing not just one country, but nations. Right. Thank you very much. This is it, folks. We're going to end. Thank you, Hulu. Ending now. Here we go.
Manangas granted his violent wife a degree in hospitality.
The same violent wife who bears up employees in the workplace. She's worse than Grace, yet they copy everything. Kuma kuma kunaya, kuma kuma kunaya, kuma kuma kunaya, kuma kuma kunaya. Geza, Geza, Zimbabwe. A degree in hospitality. The same violent wife who bears up employees in the workplace. She's worse than Grace, yet they copy everything. Kuma kuma kunaya, kuma kuma kunaya, kuma kuma kunaya. Geza. Dzekuzvibata nadzo tererai mitemo yose zvinhu zvemasi yedu dozerai zvinhu zvose zvatorwa kumuvengi taurai zvinetsika kuruzhinji rwevanhu masinzisise zvakananga musangano kune nzira dzakanaka ya soja rega kutevera mitemo yose ngoma iri kurira muvenga badarai zvamunotenga nenzira dzakanaka mudzosere zvinhu zvose zvamunenge matora tisaita zveupombwe muhondo wechimurenga tisanedze vasungwa patinenge tabata ya murenga vibes Stephen Mutamba wemurenga revolution amapiano aya ndiwo mashoko akataurwa kare navamao vachidzidzisa Geza Zim ngoma iri kurira murenga vibes ngoma iri kurira respect the cool game. Murenga vibes murenga vibes revolution amapiano respect the cool. Stephen Mutamba says army has taken
Tazuizo kumagumowe kutamu tambudwana Emerson Mondi yemanyachi Tazuizo kumagumowe kutamu tambudwana Emerson Mondi yemanyachi ndichasimudza maoko wangu kutenda musiki ndichasimudza maoko wangu kutenda musiki Geza Zimai Geza Zimai Tasvitswa kumangumo ekutambutswa na Emerson Mondi yemanyati Tasvitswa kumangumo ekutambutswa na Emerson Mondi yemanyati Ndichasimudza maoko tazvidzwa kumangomo ekutambudzwa naemansong moni emanyazi tazvidzwa kumagumo ekutambudzwa naemansong moni emanyazi ndichasimudza maoko angu kutenda muziki ndichasimudza maoko angu kutenda muziki Geza 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 zimai Geza 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 zimai
This is Semi-Media broadcasting all around the world, on the spot, on the dot. This is Semi-Media broadcasting all around the world, on the spot, on the dot.
Ndichasimudza maoko angu kutenda muziki ndichasimudza maoko angu kutenda muziki Geza 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 zimai Geza 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 zimai
This is Semi-Media broadcasting. This is Semi-Media broadcasting all around the world, on the spot, on the dot.